All right, guys, we're talking about the 100 greatest fresh fragrances of all time today. In today's video, this is a deep dive video, very long form video. We're covering 100 fragrances and we're doing it in chronological order. That way it makes it a bit more interesting. You'll find out about what was considered fresh fragrances earlier on and then what's considered fresh today. And the way that I'm doing this video is I'm featuring only fragrances you can still buy or find. I'm not including discontinued fragrances. I didn't want to do that. A lot of you complain when I do that, and we will dedicate videos with discontinued fragrances as individual videos on their own. But today we're talking about 100 greatest fresh fragrances of all time that you can still buy, ranked in discussed in chronological order. So if you are a fan of fresh fragrances, what are your favorite fresh fragrances? Do add a comment below. And what do you like about these deep dive videos as well? Do you learn anything? Do add a comment below. If you haven't caught my deep dive videos in the past, there's a whole playlist of them. You can go click on those playlists and watch the videos back to back. Some of them are around an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, going into around 3.5 hours. I'm not sure how many hours this will be, but somewhere in between 2 to 3 hours perhaps. And yeah, let's get started with the fragrances. The only other thing I should say is these will be tagged, and if they're available for sale via YouTube shopping, you'll be able to buy them. So let's go ahead and go to the year 1792. This is 4711, and this is from Maurer and Words. I believe that's the name of the company that releases this. So it's a cheapie. It's a citrus floral eau de cologne style fragrance with a lot of citruses, of course, the floral notes. And then we have the citrus floral notes, I should say, some light aromatics and maybe some light grassy woods in the base as well. It's very soapy. It's very clean. It's classic. It's fresh. Definitely highlighting the citrus floral notes here. They're very prominent, and it has a very soapy quality. I think if you like clean, and these are the kind of fragrances they started doing back in the day, these very clean, soapy fragrances where I think it was fairly easy to find the citrus floral notes off of the orange trees or the blood orange, not blood orange, but the bitter orange trees. But to me, this is a staple to have in a collection. If you don't have this in your collection, please get it. It's a cheapie. It's a citrus floral. As I said, it's one of the original eau de colognes. And it's a drugstore item in Germany, by the way. You can go to a drugstore in Germany. You can find these for fairly inexpensive in multiple different versions or variations and sizes and everything. I haven't been to Germany since 2017. God, it's time to go back. And I'll bring back a ton of little items. They have tiny little bottles, big bottles, giant bottles, and it goes down easily. It's a nice after shower clean scent. It doesn't last too long, but I definitely have to feature it here. 4711. Check that out. If you don't know it, I highly recommend you have that in your collection if you are a fragrance collector. So that was 1792. We're going to go to the year 1853 next. Going to the house of Guerlain. It's Eau De Cologne Imperiale. So Guerlain has a nice collection of classic Eau De Cologne style fragrances, and this dates back to 1853. We've got two back-to-back here. We've got this one, Eau De Cologne Imperiale, and then we have Eau De Cologne du Coq. I think that's how you say it. This is, to me, not as floral as the 4711. It's a lot more juicy, citrusy, fruity, rather than highlighting a lot of the floral notes. But that there's floral notes here, but they don't stand out as much as they stand out in 4711. It's, in the end, it's more of a juicy, citrusy. You can definitely experience that drippy citrus touch. And then, the floral notes develop, but I think for me, it's a nice mix with the intensity of the citruses instead of the citrus floral notes, which is typical of an eau de cologne. But in the end, it depends on skin. For me, I feel like the 4711 is a bit more prominent with the floral notes. This one, I think the floral notes take a backseat. I'm not saying that they're not there. they're not as strong in this one in comparison to the previous. But you can totally smell the citrus floral notes. I feel like there's also some light musks in the base, light woods, and yeah, some maybe grassy woods in the base as well. So that is Eau De Cologne Imperiale from the house of Guerlain. Definitely something you should check out if you like Eau De Cologne style fragrances. Then we have Eau De Cologne De Cook. I think that's how you say it. I'm probably butchering the French in that one. This is from 1894. So that came out about 40 years after the Eau De Cologne Imperiale. I'm having a hard time grabbing my strips here. I don't have names of perfumers written down, unfortunately, today. So this, to me, is a lot sweeter than the previous. To me, it also seems like there is a prominent amount of floral notes, citrus floral notes, but something sweet is overpowering here, almost like candy. So definitely, maybe what they've done is the citrus floral notes, like orange blossom and neroli and things like that, are the sweeter varieties, and it's coming off sweeter, much sweeter than the previous Eau De Cologne Imperiale. So to me, I like that sweetness. It gives you a little comforting coziness, and all at the same time, you have a lot of citruses. You've got a lot of citrus floral notes, and I feel like there's a little bit of green in here as well, something green like green leaves and things like that, against all that sweetness. It's not super duper sweet, I should say. It's sweeter than Eau De Cologne Imperiale, but it just comes off a little sweeter, and it's noticeable for sure, especially going from Eau De Cologne Imperiale to Eau De Cologne Cook. But super, super nice. I really like these fragrances. They're very, very comforting, and there's a familiar smell. And being used to the orange blossom note in cuisine, you get to appreciate fragrances that feature the orange blossom type notes in citrus fragrances like this. But I like this one a little bit more than the Cologne Imperiale. The Cologne Imperiale felt a little bit more stark, and the sweetness is just a bit more welcoming with the Eau De Cologne Du Coq. Imagine Love Don't Be Shy, which goes super sweet with the neroli or orange blossom in there. I'm not saying this is that sweet. In fact, it's not gourmand whatsoever. It's just sweeter than something being just cold and mostly citruses that are juicy with light floral notes. Anyway, that is Eau De Cologne Du Coq. This is from the house of Guerlain. That's from 1894. Moving on to the house of Penhaligons, we're going to 1902. This is Blenheim Bouquet. Wow, this is one of the most astringent and tart citruses that I've put my nose on. And I think that's what I like about it, is the astringency. I absolutely love the way the tartness is here. It smells great. It's almost like a sour lozenge, or maybe, I don't know, a lemon drop that you're drinking that has not too much sugar on the rim, and it's on the tart side, because you really pick up tartness here. But almost like, like limoncello maybe a little bit, but still super tart. Feel like this is a bit of a precursor to something like Eau de Adrienne, Aqua Viva, because that tartness kind of gives me that astringency and similarity to those two fragrances. But Penhaligon's Blenheim Bouquet 1902 is the year of release. This one also, I feel like there's a little bit of the skin. There's a little bit of that bitterness of the skin trapped inside the tartness of the actual fragrance. It's a really wonderful offering. I really love this one, and it smells great in the heat and humidity. It actually smells fantastic for me. I absolutely love that. The Guerlains don't have something this sour, but for sure we've got it here from Penhaligons. And again, save this for the hottest days. It's a nice classic. Well, it might come off a bit old school, obviously, because it is from 1902. It's over 125 years old almost. So, but I don't ever get tired of citruses. Citruses are awesome. I don't regard them as some of the most amazing fragrances of all time compared to some of the other ones that I really love. But citruses are definitely needed in a collection, especially if you want something refreshing, invigorating, uplifting, and things like that. So anyway, that is Penhaligon's Blenheim Bouquet. One of my favorites from the house. Love this house. I first discovered the house late 90s, I think. Was it late 90s? Yes, late 90s at Saks Fifth Avenue. I know I was... what was that? I was in my 20s when I discovered it. And I've been a fan since then. So we're moving on to a Spanish house next. It's called Alvarez Gomez. This is Agua de Colonia Concentrada, this one right here. So I discovered this on my very first trip to Spain in Madrid. And a grocery store was selling these. So really enjoyed that lemony smell. This is not as astringent as Blenheim Bouquet. This is also a cologne, Eau De Cologne, kind of like the 4711. And I feel like Agua Colonia Concentrada is Spain's answer to Germany's 4711. So they smell nothing alike. For me, the Agua Colonia de Concentrada is more citruses, less flowers if there are much flowers. You're not picking up flowers. This is more of a spicy citrus, maybe some light aromatics thrown in there, herbs, leafy greens, but very light on the greens. This is more like juicy citruses and sweet tart, not super tart like the Blenheim Bouquet. But easy to wear after a shower, clean, and if you like lighter scents compared to heavier scents, then this is something you should check out. So yeah, it's a Spanish brand. I believe it's based out of Madrid. It's Alvarez Gomez Agua Colonia de Concentrada. In fact, actually, the first time I saw this was... Where was that? I think it was at a department store in Spain, their famous department store. El Ingle Cortez, I think that's what it's called. I'm trying to remember the name. And they had a whole like section, like a display set up in some corner, and they had so many, just like the 4711. They have so many different products made out of this particular fragrance. And you know what it reminds me of? A little bit like a lemon pez. I don't know why, but that's just what it's reminding me of now. But yeah, so in Spain, I discovered that display. I was very curious about it. This was probably 16 years ago. Not even, I think more than 16, perhaps. Like it was around 2008 when I went to Spain for the first time. Yeah, 2008. And that's when I discovered it. I believe it was in Barcelona. But anyway, so this is Alvarez Gomez Agua de Colonia Concentrada. Check that out. It's a cheapie, once again, like 4711. But I think it's not as cheap as 4711. So the next fragrance, we're going to the house of Acqua di Parma. This is Colonia, launched in 1916. So 110 years ago. Go figure how early on this is. This is a citrus, but it's also kind of a barbershop-y citrus. It's clean and spicy, very citrusy. And I feel like not a lot of floral notes, more on the aromatics and herbs and spices. So it does come off very classic, very clean, very, shaving soap, barbershop-y. And I believe it was at a barbershop that was first where they used this in Italy. I think in the city of Parma, right? Acqua di Parma. So, but it's a classic. It's I remember, was it in the 2000s or in the late 90s when there was a resurgence of this fragrance with a lot of celebrities were wearing it? And I don't remember when Acqua di Parma was purchased by LVMH. And then all of a sudden we had a lot of like the Blue Mediterranean fragrances come out. I think those were under LVMH. But early on, I think there was just basically Colonia. And the brand has survived all these years. I've never gone to any of their barbershop services, but I have seen them. I would like to do a shaving service one time if I am near an actual one of their shops and not in France, because I've seen them in France, kind of more in Italy, I think, since the brand's from Italy. But if you like classic Eau De Cologne style fragrances, more towards the barbershop-y side, definitely check this out. It's a staple in a collection. This is Colonia from Acqua di Parma. Let me know your thoughts on that. That's a wonderful offering. So next we go into the house of Jacques Fath. This is Green Water. So Green Water is from 1947. This version is from 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. This is the redo by Cécile Zarokian. She's reimagined the fragrance. But to me, it reminds me of the original ones that I've smelled in the past. It's once again sort of barbershop-y, but not as much as Acqua di Parma's Colonia. It's also very green. It has kind of greenish herbal notes. So the greenness is a little bit more amped up. So I would say it's somewhere in between Acqua di Parma, Colonia, something like Eau Sauvage, those kind of fragrances where it kind of tends to lean masculine and for men. And even though this was originally a men's cologne or men's fragrance, Green Water became a unisex offering when Jacques Fath was no longer a fashion house and strictly a niche fragrance house. And of course it was relaunched by a company, and then they brought back Green Water and launched some newer fragrances, and of course the brand's continuing on. But Green Water is definitely one of the iconic fragrances, fresh fragrances, and it's quite an old fragrance. It's been around for some time now, almost 80 years long. Almost 80 years later, this fragrance is still going strong. Let me know if you guys are familiar with Green Water. Maybe you're familiar with the previous edition. This is the 2016-2017 edition, as I said, but originally launched in 1947. And then we're going to go to the original Moustache from the house of Rochas. This is Moustache Original 1949. This is not the original that was launched in 1949. When Rochas launched Moustache EDP, they brought this back and they called it Original 1949. This is nothing like the Moustache EDP, where it's warm, ambery, woody, earthy, vanillic also. This is more of like Green Water, Eau Sauvage. In fact, this is created by Edmond Rudnitska, and it's got his spicy touch in it. It's got some musk and funk in here, but in the end, it's an old school citrusy aromatic fragrance. To me, somewhere in the middle of, in between Acqua di Parma Colonia, Eau Sauvage by the Dior, and then Hermes, Eau de Hermes. I believe he did Eau de Hermes as well, because it's got a little bit of that musk that's in Eau de Hermes here, but it's like Green Water, Eau Sauvage, it's citrusy, it's aromatic. It's a great scent. Nothing like the Moustache EDP that, is very popular as a very discounted fragrance. This, on the other hand, I'm not 100% sure how long it'll be around. As I said, it was brought back at the same time EDP was launched, which both fragrances are night and day different. If you're a fan of classic fragrances, get this. This is great. It's old school style. It's also got that musky funk. It's fantastic. I am actually searching for another bottle of this. I'm going to have to find it because I think it's on its way out from the re-release. Yeah, lovely fragrance. So this is Moustache, original 1849 version from the house of Rochas. Let's move on to the house of Floris next. This is number 89 from 1951. Yeah, this is freshy take on a fougere barbershop-y style fragrance for the guys. So also I should mention, not reiterate because I don't think I mentioned, this video is going to skew more unisex male, but there are some women's targeted releases in the video as well. So just enjoy it. And if you like some of the ladies' fragrances and you're a guy, check them out, and vice versa. So number 89 from Floris, to me, is a very old school, spicy, citrusy, aromatic offering with woods in the base. It does have that old school vibe. It's classic. It's also barbershoppy. Kind of sort of like Acqua di Parma's Colonia, but I feel like they've reversed things, whereas Colonia is more citruses, and it does have those spices and herbs and aromatics. Here, I feel like it's the other way around. There's more spices and herbs and aromatics, and citruses are not the dominant, runner of the show here. But in the end, it's spicy, it's woody, it's herbal, and of course citrusy for sure. Classic UK house Floris. I believe they're rebranding everything recently. I think the bottles look different. You can find number 89 for fairly cheaply online. And again, as I said, I will tag these all as best as I can so that you can buy them if any of these sound great. They're timestamp tagged all along with the chapters. So just to also give you guys a heads up, sometimes I forget, because if I have exactly 100 chapters, if I have one more, if I have 101 and my count sometimes is off, the chapters do not work. Just add a comment and say, chapter's not working. There's more than 100 chapters, because YouTube only allows an intro chapter and 99 more chapters. Once you go past 100 total chapters, the chapters still work if you go through the info box, but they will not have that display of chapters where you can click through. You can still click through them in the info box. So, and sometimes there's more than 100 products. In fact, this video will probably feature like around 103 to 104 with all the different fragrances, because some of the fragrances has variations or different versions of them as well. Like this next fragrance. This is from the house of Chanel. This is Pour Monsieur, which launched in 1955. This is the original. And I can't remember when the Eau de Parfum launched. But also, I believe it wasn't called Eau de Parfum before. I think it was called Concentree. Is that true? Anybody that remembers, please let us know. Add a comment below. To me, the original is more old school. The Eau de Parfum is definitely smoother. That's the Eau de Parfum. And I noticed that this is not on Chanel's... Is it on Chanel's website anymore? I can't find it online anywhere. Yeah, so the original 1955 version is thinner, airier, but it's a citrus, it's woods, it's aromatics and spices, and a very classic gentlemanly offering. I don't know, when I smell fragrances like this, number 89, Chanel Pour Monsieur, Green Water, Rochas Moustache, original 1949, I think of James Bond for some strange reason. I don't know why. But if you're tossing up between these, I think you can find these at the Chanel boutique. I just haven't been able to find them online at all anywhere, but they might be on the Chanel website. And I think if you find a Chanel boutique or a Chanel perfume standalone store, you might be able to find them in there. But I think they're kind of fizzled away in the American market, not as much here as it is in Europe and the Middle East. But classic, masculine, citrusy, aromatic offering from the House of Chanel. Very first men's fragrance from Chanel. And that's the... Well, originally I think it was called Concentree. I think they've made it into an Eau de Parfum. All right, so that was from the year 1955. Then we're going to the year 1959. This is Guerlain Vetiver. Yeah, I'm putting this in the fresh department. Even though it's grassy woods and spices, it's quite fresh because it has citruses in there and definitely belongs on this list. I've got a few Vetiver fragrances on the list, by the way. And so it's a freshie, bit more deeper than a traditional citrus freshie, but it's grassy, earthy, woody, a little bit spicy. Rooty also comes to mind here. Light, warm spices against it, and some citruses up top that freshen things up. But super iconic men's fragrance from the house of Guerlain. This isn't the very first Vetiver. Well, at least I think it was Carven's Vetiver that came out a few years before this. But I think the men's version is, the Guerlain version is super popular. I'm preferring the Parfum edition that's just launched. I'm not featuring it here today. I'm talking strictly about the original from 1959. But it's a classic. I wore so much of this. If you like that smell of that rooty, earthy woodiness, the aromatic spiciness of the vetiver, you'll enjoy this one. I mean, it's classic, but to me, it smells like what vetiver smells like nowadays too, unless they modernize it like Bal d'Afrique. But a lot of rooty vetiver fragrances smell like this. But it's a good one. Definitely solid. It's vetiver from the house of Guerlain. And this is the most recent version of it. It's gone through so many different bottle changes. But things like that happen with these houses, and conglomerates behind them are constantly changing things around. Then let's go to one of my favorite classic men's fragrances. This is 1966 launch with Dior's Eau Sauvage. I absolutely love this one. It is so, so good. It's fresh, it's citrusy, it's juicy, aromatic, spicy, invigorating, clean, a little bit soapy. And then, of course, there's grassy, woody touches in there as well. But it smells fantastic. Really, really nice. Very gentlemanly offering. Wow. It's so good. But I think this is, once again, reminds me of James Bond for some reason, this fragrance. My very first experience with Eau Sauvage, I can't remember if it was through my dad. I was actually house sitting someplace one time in my early 20s. And there was a bottle of Eau Sauvage. In fact, it was the vintage, the original bottle. And I think I got one recently. Not recently, but probably like 5 years ago. It's the original Eau Sauvage bottle. And the juice inside it has turned very, very yellow. But I experienced it at that time and really enjoyed it. And I didn't start wearing it until like 15 years later. Or maybe 10. Who knows? But this is an iconic offering. One of the best. And I believe it's created by Edmond Rudnitska, another, genius perfumer who's created so many amazing fragrances. A lot for Dior. But yeah, let me know if you're a fan of Dior's Eau Sauvage. If you haven't tried it, please do. It's super fantastic. All right, next, going back to the house of Guerlain. This is Eau De Guerlain. Eau De Guerlain from the house of Guerlain. This one's got a cool little thing over there, that blue. So this is from 1974. I thought this would be a bit earlier, but I guess Guerlain decided to launch a freshie like this in the 70s. Oops. Maybe it was trendy. Once again, this is kind of like Cologne Imperiale, where it's not super floral forward, although I feel like this is also a bit less floral forward than Eau De Cologne Imperiale. Whereas Eau De Cologne Imperiale, the floral notes came out as it settled. This one's going straight to citruses, mostly. More like the Chanel Paul Monsieur. But it's super citrusy, very juicy, and aromatic. Old school, definitely. Yeah, these fragrances are awesome. Really, really love them. They're freshies. And right now we're working towards the 70s and, well, we are in the 70s, but we're working towards the 80s and 90s. And things are going to change a lot But up until like the 80s, things were very similar, I think. And then I'll tell you guys. But yeah, if you like the House of Guerlain, check this out. In fact, I would check out all of these classics from this house, like the Eau De Cologne. Eau De Cologne de Cook is my favorite so far of the 3 we've tried. And then, of course, Eau De Cologne Imperiale. And this one is Eau De Guerlain. That one's from 1974. We're going to the House of Sisley next. Fragrance created by Jean-Claude Elena. This is Eau De Campagne. Yeah, one of the best freshies. And I think it's one of the early usages of tomato leaf note. And tomato leaf note is having a moment right now. So many tomato leaf or tomato focused fragrances. But this is like your traditional Eau De Cologne, like Agua Colonia Concentrada from Alvarez Gomez, 4711. It's kind of like that, but with an overdose of that bitter greenness of the tomato leaf. And it's almost like you're in a tomato grove and you're walking through them and running your hands against them. And it's releasing a little bit of that fragrance, the odor off of the plants themselves. But it's very fresh here. It's super fresh, very citrusy. There's some spices and aromatics, maybe light fruity notes in here as well. But I feel like this is where Jean-Claude Elena got his feet wet, creating a fragrance like this for the House of Sisley. And then 20 years later, maybe... around 20 years later, he's gone to Hermes. No, maybe 30 years later, he's gone to Hermes and doing the Jardin collection, like on Jardin en Méditerranée, on Jardin sur le Nil, and so on. But if you haven't tried this and you're a fan of Jean-Claude Elena, definitely check out Sisley's Eau De Campagne. It's a great, great scent. You must be into bitter tomato leaf note, though. And then we've got the House of Hermes. This is Eau d'Orange Verte, but I'm featuring the Concentrate Orange Verte version here. The original Eau d'Orange Verte launched in 1979. The Concentrate launched in 2004. I first bought my first bottle of Eau d'Orange Verte in 2001, before the Concentrate launched. And this is one of Guerlain. This is one of Hermes's most famous fragrances. In fact, it's been used as hotel products. I've stayed at 2 hotels that use this product, and I absolutely love the smell. It's one of my favorites. It's mostly orange, not much floral notes in here, and I feel like there's the leaves of the orange in this, and a lot of woods against it, and spices too. It's definitely on the classic side, and again, I discovered it in 2001 on a very hot trip, like so hot in the city of New Orleans in August of 2001. And the Saks Fifth Avenue store there, I bought 2 fragrances in that store, this and one from Jill Sander on that trip. Remember those fragrances forever. It's kind of fun to buy fragrances on a trip because you'll remember that trip. And every time I pull this fragrance out, the Eau d'Orange Verte or the Concentrated Orange Verte, I'll remember New Orleans because I've only been there one time. And if you buy a fragrance, you wear it, it always brings back memories of the trip. But yeah, this is an awesome scent. It was redone in, I think, well, from what I remember, the original Eau d'Orange Verte, which I do have a bottle still in the original version, was much more potent than the current version of Eau d'Orange Verte. It was more in line with the Concentrate as thickness. Now the original Eau d'Orange Verte seems to me it has gotten very thin, super thin. So that's why I prefer the Concentrate, because it is thicker. But according to my research, the Concentrate came out in 2004. When did Eau d'Orange Verte get reformulated? Somewhere around that time, probably, right? But anyway, going past that, I think Eau d'Orange Verte, Concentrated Orange Verte is one of my all-time favorite citrus fragrances. Let me know if you're a fan. All right, we are moving into the year 1980, but before I get to the next fragrance, I do want to let you guys know that portions of these videos will be aired individually edited. You can look forward to those sometime within the next couple of months. But these videos, obviously, you know that these are not edited and it's straightforward shooting, no editing, nothing. So just to keep that in mind, if you prefer to come back later and watch these videos edited, we'll be breaking them down into groups of decades and things like that. So it might be easier to experience something like that. So let's move on to the year 1980, as I said, going to the house of Goutal, or Annick Goutal, which is what it used to be. This is Eau de Monsieur. Now, I thought that Eau de Adrien was the first fragrance from this house, but it was Eau de Monsieur. This version is the 2013 version. It was redone in 2013. But originally, they launched Eau de Monsieur in 1980. Then they launched in 81 Eau de Adrien. Eau de Adrien is probably more popular, and we'll get to it here. But I do want to talk a little bit about the Eau de Monsieur. For me, the Eau de Monsieur is like a cross between Eau de Adrien and Eau Sauvage. I feel like the Eau de Monsieur also has deep, earthy woods in the base. I feel like there's patchouli, which I love. It makes it very sexy. But up top, it's super citrusy, very juicy, lots of aromatics, maybe light, very, very light on the citrus florals, if at all. But overall, it's a great scent. I love it. It reminds me of Eau Sauvage. It also reminds me of Eau de Adrien. So you have the best of those two worlds together here. It's a masculine offering, but I think a woman can totally pull this one off. All these fragrances, again, some of these are masculine offerings or for men, like Eau Sauvage and things like that. But if you like citruses as a woman and you like a more masculine leaning offering, by all means, enjoy that fragrance. But Eau de Monsieur is awesome. Really, really great. Great citrus. And I love the house of I love the house of Annick Goutal, one of my early fragrance house loves. It's a bit of a bummer I don't know what's going on with the brand. I don't think they're really hyped as much anymore, which is sad because I absolutely love this house. Let's move on to the house of Givenchy next. This is Eau de Givenchy, and this is the latest version of the Eau de Givenchy. So the original bottle did not look like this, I don't think. And to me, this is a super citrus floral Eau de Cologne style freshie. And you've got a lot of citruses, super juicy, and you've got that creamy citrus floral note in here like neroli or orange blossom against a little bit of a greenness from the bitter orange tree leaves. It's sweeter, a bit gentler, but a bit, strong. It's a nice, strong, clean and soapy offering. And that came out in 1980. I bought that bottle highly discounted at a perfume shop in Paris somewhere. I think it was one of the Marionnaud stores. It was in a clearance rack. And I had always seen it at Barney's when they relaunched it. I think it was relaunched around 2015, 2016. First, it was in a kind of a more circular bottle. Then they changed the bottle to this. And of course, the logo got changed too, or something happened with it. And it's nice to have. It's a nice, clean citrus. I don't remember ever, discovering it in 1980, so I don't know it. But to me, this is fantastic. Something in line with like the Cologne Imperiale and Eau De Cologne de Cook and what else? 4711, things like that, I think come to mind with that fragrance. On to Goutal Paris's Eau de Adrien, or Annick Goutal's Eau de Adrien. One of the best fresh fragrances ever created, I think. And it's become an iconic offering. And it comes in multiple concentrations, and I think it still does. I have the masculine bottle. And before, the masculine bottles were like this. I first started wearing Eau de Adrien in 2000 or 1999. Bought it in New York City at Saks Fifth Avenue. And I remember how astringent and loud it was. It's gotten much thinner nowadays. So it also comes in a feminine bottle, obviously, with that little bow on it, which, yeah, it does come with those. But now I think it's just a unisex bottle like this, but I can't remember if it still comes in a different bottle for the ladies. So are there two versions? It also came in 2 concentrations before. I don't know if it still does. This is an Eau de Parfum. It came in an Eau de Toilette as well. But for me, this is, astringent lemons, some light aromatic woods, light spices, maybe some musk in the base. But it's like a lemon drop, lemon lozenge, limoncello. One of my favorite fragrances of all time. Absolutely love this. If you guys haven't gotten your nose on this one, please do. It is still summer, and you're probably going to enjoy these fragrances when it's really warm outside. But this is a super iconic offering. Eau d'Adrienne from the House of Goutal, Paris. So the daughter of Annick Goutal, who's passed away, Annick Goutal passed away of breast cancer from what I remember hearing. The daughter, though, Camille, she's with a brand called Voyage Imaginaire now. She works with Isabelle Doyen, who also created fragrances for Annick Goutal. So I think both of them are considered perfumers. All right, let's move on to the House of Diptyque. We've got a Diptyque here. In 1983, Diptyque launched Lambert L'Eau. Super iconic fragrance from France. And it's cassis and roses. It's green and fruity and floral. I think this fragrance is what inspired their famous Bay Candle. The Bay Candle was so super popular in the early 2000s. That's when I first bought my candle from the Diptyque here in the city. And I love that smell. Really, really love it. Black currant. Here, it's very green. It's a super duper green fragrance, but kind of vegetal also. It's almost like the green stems are coming alive. Super intense. But it's a great, great scent. I feel like Synthetic Jungle or Synthetic Nature could be inspired by this. But a lot of fragrances that came after this could be inspired by this. Like there's a fragrance called Malamata from the House of Rousse and Rousse, created by Dominique Ropian. It's amazing. It's a green pea vines fragrance. It's so fantastic. But this Lambert L'Eau, I think, is a masterpiece. It's been around for so long that it's inspired a candle. At least that's what I've heard, because the Bay Candle does smell like this a little bit. And it makes sense. It's such a amazing scent that they make a candle out of it. But this is an awesome scent. If you haven't tried it, please do. It's Lambert L'Eau from the House of Diptyque. Great freshy, but not relying on citruses, by the way. So let's move on to the House of Creed next from 1985. It's Green Irish Tweed. Green Irish Tweed. What comes after Green Irish Tweed, by the way? So Pierre Bourdon did this fragrance, right? Was this a reject? Have you guys read the book, The Ghost Perfumer? I highly recommend you read it to learn the story about Creed. So this, to me, is an ozonic, watery green fragrance. So the green fragrances, were they popular in the 80s? This is kind of more aquatic. But to me, I feel like violet leaves are prominent here. So it takes it into a green direction. But it's spicy, it's wet and watery, it's green and ozonic, as I said. Nice, classy, gentlemanly offering. Another fragrance that kind of reminds me of James Bond for some reason. It's great. It's very classic. Very, very classic. Green Irish Tweed from the House of Creed. Pierre Bourdon. And then it's Cool Water. Same guy, Pierre Bourdon. So, yeah, read the book, Ghost Perfumer. Because a lot of Creed fragrances were rejects from from when I think Pierre Bourdon was pitching the designers and they wouldn't take them. I think Creed was taking them. So to me, Cool Water seems like a less green, more aquatic, light marine take on that same style. Fragrance changed so much from when we started to now. This fragrance is like the start of the aquatic movement. I mean, I think it probably already started with the Green Irish Tweed, but it really kick-started it here with Cool Water. It's super ozonic and watery, but thankfully it doesn't fully go to marine. Like, it's not like overdosed with cologne. I can't stand that note. And this is enjoyable, and it does remind me of Green Irish Tweed, but it's also a bit different and, you know, more mass market, whereas the Creed Green Irish Tweed is a bit more luxurious. That's how it comes off on me. This, I feel like the notes are not as expensive smelling, even though I don't mind this. It smells great. The other thing I forgot to mention about Davidoff's Cool Water from 1988, there's a little bit of a laundry smell in there. Not sure why I smell laundry, but I do get laundry from this. All right, so that is Davidoff's Cool Water, and that ends the year 1988, and we're done with the 80s. We're going to move into the 90s next. All right, now we're into the 90s. We're going to 1992 to the House of Bvlgari. It's Eau De Vert, a fragrance created by Jean-Claude Ellena. To me, it's a tea fragrance, green, and very powdery. I kind of like my tea to be a bit more, not as dry and powdery like this. This is very powdery and dusty. But in the end, it's tea. It's for sure tea. It reminds me of that very, very familiar tea smell. But I feel like it's going into a little bit more of a jasmine tea direction or something floral. It's green, it's powdery, it's dry and dusty and floral. Not my favorite tea fragrance, but super popular. The other thing you should know with the Bvlgari tea fragrances, especially this one and also the Thé Blanc that I'll be featuring here in a little bit, they have reformulated these. The versions I have are Eau De Cologne, as you can see on the bottom there. They are now Eau De Toilette concentration, so they have redone them. I wonder if I'll be enjoying the Eau De Toilette version of this Eau De Vert more. I mean, I also have Elizabeth Arden's green tea here, which I enjoy much more than the Bvlgari. Something about this one doesn't click with me, but I wanted to highlight it for you guys because it is very popular and it's definitely one of the best fresh fragrances ever created. So that is Eau De Vert from the House of Bvlgari. Off to a men's fragrance from the House of Chanel. It's Platinum Egoiste. I'm sure you've heard of this fragrance. This is a kind of a modern, for that era, fougere aromatic style fragrance, but super cold and metallic and sharp. But for sure you have a lot of aromatics here and spices. And I think there's citruses that are creating this steel effect, this cold metal effect. There's a little bit of a reminder of tea in this one as well. And I think this is like the precursor of another fragrance that came out 3 years after that I'll connect here in a little bit. But it's so different than the original Egoiste from Chanel. The night and day different. I wish Chanel did something like this now. You have Chanel Egoiste, which is a warm, rosy, musky, woody, spicy thing. And then you've got this cold steel, aromatic fougere-like, spicy, woody men's fragrance. They're so different. They could have done something similar to Bleu de Chanel. What about Noir de Chanel? What about Blanc de Chanel? What about Rouge de Chanel? They could have done something fun and unique. All they've done is like flanker. Like, okay, we're going to do an eau de toilette. We're going to do an eau de parfum. We're going to do a parfum. We're going to do an exclusive. Boring, 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 right? It's the same fragrance in multiple different variations. They could have done something like this, and they could have made all these different fragrances and make them so different, but still kind of capitalize on their de Chanel thing. You know, Bleu de Chanel, Rouge de Chanel, Blanc de Chanel, Noir de Chanel. What else is there? Verte de Chanel. I don't know, because they like green fragrances. Chanel number 19 is green, so they could have come up with a men's version of it, right? But anyway, going back to Platinum Egoiste, I loved this when I first wore it in the early 90s. It has gotten thinner. I felt like it was a lot sharper before, but now that I'm smelling it again, it's smelling really, really great to me. So it's definitely very iconic here. Platinum Egoiste from the House of Chanel. Let me know if you're a fan of that. Going back to the House of Rochas once again. This is Eau de Rochas Homme. Where is it? It's this way, sorry. Eau de Rochas Homme to me is a modern take on, modern for those years, take on something like Eau Sauvage. But to me, this is a little bit more like Monsieur Balmain. I don't know if you guys remember that fragrance. Monsieur Balmain was very lemony. This is very lemony. This is maybe a bit more like Eau de Monsieur from Goutal or Eau de Adrien by Goutal. So it's the like lemon heads or lemoncello, lemon drops, lemon lozenges, things comes to mind more. It's super lemony is what I'm trying to say. So Eau Sauvage is more aromatic and, you know, grassy vetiver with citruses. This to me goes into a lemony direction a lot more, reminding me more of Monsieur Balmain, like I said. Monsieur Balmain got discontinued. I do have a backup bottle of it. I was wearing it quite a bit, like 10, 13, 14, 15 years ago. I really loved it. And this is a great alternative for that if you guys remember. If you remember Monsieur Balmain. So this is Rochas Eau de Rochas Homme. Let me know if you're familiar with this. Who's a fan of this? Add a comment below. That is 1993. Did I say 94 for that? I apologize. That is 1993. So that came out in 93. Same year as the Chanel Platinum Egoiste. Then we've got this big, huge, iconic fragrance from the house of Calvin Klein. It's CK One. Unisex targeted. Created by Alberto Morillas and Annie Buzantian, I think. Is there another perfumer? I think there might be 2 or 3 perfumers attached to this. But this is tea. It's aromatics, it's spices, it's light woods, musks, and of course, citruses also. It's super iconic. They've just launched the which version was that? New one is the very metallic ice cold version, kind of like a Platinum Egoiste, but more CK One smell. And it's good. It's very, very kind of like sharp and cold, icy, metallic, as I said. This one's softer, fresher, lighter, airier. It's gotten so light, it kind of is like 4711 now, as far as lightness goes, although it's Eau de Toilette compared to Eau De Cologne with the 4711. But super iconic fragrance. This is one very, very famous fragrance from the mid-90s. I wore it. My sister wore it. We all wore it. Did you wear it? Sadly, some of the earlier... Well, it's not a place to add a fragrance like Obsession here, but I wanted to add Eternity for Men here, but I think the fragrance itself right now has gone way downhill. It doesn't smell much like what I remember. It's gotten super weak, so I didn't feature that one here. But even though CK1, the original from 1994, has gotten light, it still smells fairly decent. So definitely deserve to be on this list. So up next, going to the house of Issey Miyake. It's L'Eau de Pour Homme. This is definitely got to be on this list. A fragrance created by Jacques Cavalier, who is the in-house perfumer at Louis Vuitton now. This is an aquatic fragrance with yuzu. So yuzu has a little bit of that saltiness, and the fact that it's watery and aquatic, it gives you a little bit of a marine effect, but it's bitter, juicy, zesty yuzu with some light woods and aromatics thrown in there as well. I just loved this when I first bought this fragrance. It was around 94 95, and I couldn't get enough of it. Again, it's gotten weaker, but it still reminds me of the fragrance that I wore back in the mid-90s. I felt like in the 90s when I wore it, it was a lot more vibrant, like super dense, thick. It has gotten airy and thin now. That's the thing with these fragrances, because I remember them, because I wore them so much, you can kind of tell the weakening of these fragrances, but the smell is fairly attached. It's fairly similar, so we'll go with it. But I think this is one of the most popular men's fragrances of all time and one of the best fresh fragrances ever created. So this is L'Eau de Pour Homme from the house of Issey Miyake. And the flankers have been cranking out so much. I've actually worn multiple flankers of that before I started doing any content, like in the early 2000s. They were making like summer versions of these fragrances constantly. I was buying them from Macy's. But to me, the original is the best. All right, that is Issey Miyake's L'Eau de Pour Homme. Next, we're going to the house of Creed again. We've got Silver Mountain Water from 1995. The fact that this has the word silver in it, I expect something metallic, but it doesn't come off metallic. In the end, it's kind of a soft tea fragrance. Tea, powdery, clean. It's super clean. Mountain air, snow, frosted, I don't know, mountains. But the tea is pretty distinct in this. You really can smell the tea. I think 90s were a lot about tea. I mean, we have like 3 big tea fragrances. One from Bvlgari, this one, and then we have that Elizabeth Arden coming up soon as well. I mean, actually, the next one after this, maybe a few after this, is also tea, I believe. But what else reminded me of tea? I think the Davidoff Cool Water kind of reminds me of tea a little bit. And then we've got the Bvlgaris coming up too, the Pour Homme. A lot of tea. Yeah, a lot of tea. But this is nice. It's soft. This is almost very pillowy soft. It's almost like you're bouncing on a cloud. But it is very cool, fresh, quiet. There's a quietness about this. That's why I think of mountains. It's very quiet up high in the mountains. And it's cold and frosty and lots of tea. So that is Silver Mountain Water from the house of Creed. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. Next, super popular offering, super duper popular. This came out in 96. I first wore it in 97. This is Giorgio Armani's Acqua di Gio. Although it should be just called Armani now because sadly Giorgio passed away a couple years ago. But I think this fragrance kind of started the marine movement. I mean, for me, I feel like cool water might be the marine movement. I don't get much marine from it. It's more aquatic to me. This is more marine. And it's interesting also, when I wore it, it wasn't as marine as it has become now. Or maybe my chemistry got sensitive to marine. I have no idea what has happened. I wore so much of Acqua di Gio in 97 and 98. I mean, even now that the fragrance itself has gotten super light, I still pick up cologne like notes in here. And when I first got this, I got it as a gift, but I would speak to the associates at the department stores that were selling it. They would mention that there's melons in the note. But man, it's gone so thin. It's so thin. It's very fresh. Marine, of course. I don't know what makes this fragrance super popular, but maybe because it's easy to wear. People love the smell of the sea mixed in with like that melon fruitiness that's in there. And, you know, you've got some light spices and aromatics thrown in there and woods in the base. It's very easy to wear. And I think the fact that it's gotten lighter, it makes it even easier. And the thing is also, that fragrance, they're still cranking out flankers. In fact, I think every single flanker, and there's probably 100 of them, is all done by Alberto Morillas. Can you guys confirm that? Did he do all those flankers? Because he's been working on those fragrances for years. All right, next, going to the house of Azzaro. This is Chrome. This is tea, but to me, this is kind of like Platinum Egoiste. It's like metallic ice cold, but with tea. But it's super fresh. It's crisp. It's almost like, you know how snow freezes and creates those icicles? It's kind of like that. But to me, it's aromatic and tea, aromatic notes and tea that's creating this, and citruses as well. That's creating that. For sure, it's gotten lighter. I mean, I keep saying that about these fragrances, but yeah, these fragrances are, because I wore them more than fragrances like Eau De Guerlain or Eau De Cologne Imperiale and things like that before. These I know because I've worn them so much. But still, I think you can pick up the smell from this, and it'll remind you of the original. Azzaro Chrome, very fresh, clean, ice cold, tea. Let me know if you're familiar with that. And the next two fragrances are also tea. We're going to the house of Bvlgari, and I am featuring both versions of Bvlgari Pour Homme. This is Bvlgari Pour Homme in the Eau de Toilette. This is Bvlgari Pour Homme in the Eau de Parfum. I think they changed this. I think it might have been called Intense, something different. It was renamed. Let's talk about the original. But on my very first trip to New York City, I stayed in an apartment, and the person that was that owned that apartment was wearing this. And when I first smelled this fragrance, I was always like a fragrance nerd, loved scents. It was like, oh my God, what is that fragrance? It smells so good. And at the time, Bvlgari seemed a bit like not a brand I clicked with, so I never bought it. But now that I bought this specifically to feature here in this video, I've had the Eau de Parfum for a while. This is so light, the Eau de Toilette. Super light. But it's a lot of musks, maybe aldehydic notes, and lots of tea in this with some spices. It's very fresh. This to me smells like it's a gym fragrance now. It's super light. And I just don't remember when I first smelled this and how I reacted to it back in, I think it was 97. I wouldn't react to this like this now. This is nothing. Who's a fan of this fragrance? It's gotten pretty watered down, hasn't it? But at least with the EDP, there's some depth there. There's some essence there. You can smell it. It smells great. It seems to be also going a bit green. Oh, yeah. Super spicy. Maybe it was the intense version that they had. Oh, I love this. This is so good. Super spicy. Musky for sure. Definitely tea. a little bit of aldehydes. That is really awesome. This is Bvlgari Pour Homme. It could have either been intense. I think now that I remember, it's probably extreme. I think that's what it was before. And maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, they brought this back. And they redid it as an eau de parfum since everything is going that direction now. But if I were you, if you wanted super light, go with the original. But just keep in mind, it's super light. But I would go with the EDP. The EDP smells great to me. I wouldn't say it's the strongest fragrance. It's very light still, but at least I can smell it, and I can still wear this at the gym if I was going to wear this at the gym, because it's light enough. So anyway, Bvlgari Pour Homme in Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum. From, well, the original Bvlgari Pour Homme was from 96. I can't remember when the EDP version was from a few years ago, but when it was extreme, I think it was not in the same year as Bvlgari Pour Homme. All right, next fragrance, going to the house of Diptyque once again. It's Philosophes. Yeah, it's a fig fragrance. Yeah, I consider it fresh. And yeah, it definitely deserves to be on this list. Probably should have put L'Artisan's Premier Figuier, but this to me is the ultimate in fig fragrances. It's green, woody, creamy, coconutty. I think if you're challenged by green fragrances, maybe try this. The leaves are pretty bitter. The coconut that's in here is giving you that fig milk effect. But it's nicely done. It's Olivia Jacobetti. She did this, but I think a year before she did Premier Figuier for L'Artisan, which is kind of strange that she launched two very similar smelling fragrances back to back. But I think people that are wanting to learn about fig or fig fragrances probably start with Diptyque's Philosophes because it's so popular. It's a great name too. The thing is, they show the fruits right there. There's just no fruitiness in this whatsoever. At least I don't get the fruits. Do you guys get fruits from the Philosophes? I think it's just more green for me. Sorry, I've got a little rag here because I'm spraying so much. Otherwise, I'm going to slip and fall. So I've got to have that rag there so it catches all the sprays. But yeah, it's a iconic fig fragrance. I don't get the, well, it's just a water fountain that looks like. With a face that has the mouth with the water coming out of it. All right, so moving on to the house of, moving on to the house of Profumum Roma, it's Acqua di Sale. So I'm showing you that limited edition bottle that I bought back in 2018. Doesn't come in a red bottle like this, just be warned, it comes in a clear bottle like this. So this is the ultimate in marine salty. It's smelling nice now because this room is cool and it hasn't been warm, thankfully. When it gets really hot, I would never wear this because it just becomes fish jumping off my skin. But it's super salty, very marine, and I feel like there's seaweed in here or algae of some sort. It's very minerally, but just imagine the sea. In the winter, when it's cold, this stuff smells great on my skin. Excuse me. I think it's the heat that really brings it to life, and the marine qualities, the fishy qualities just amplify. But it's smelling kind of nice now. What do you guys think? Acqua di Sale. Let me know if you're a fan. All right. Now we got a ladies targeted offering. This is from the house of Clinique. This is Happy. Clinique is under Estee Lauder. And this, along with the men's that's coming up in a few fragrances, were so popular, super popular. I first wore Clinique Happy in the late 90s, and I was obsessed with that smell. This, though, seems kind of fruity and floral, but very weak and light. It's very fresh, though. Super fresh, fun, playful, girly, cute, sweet. Unlike the men's version. But I feel like they've captured happy perfectly. It's very happy and uplifting. There's no sadness here whatsoever. I prefer the men's, obviously. But let's go to the house of Penhaligons next. It's Castille. Right there. Castile. So this is one of a few orange blossomy focused fragrances. Are they focusing on... Are they focusing on soap here? I think that's what they're focusing on. Ooh, it's good. It's super good. Really, really great, actually. Very orange blossom forward. Very, like, kind of, there's a waxy quality there, giving you that kind of a soapy effect. It's clean for sure. Very soapy. This is like soap in your face. The Penhaligon's website said out of stock, but add your email to be notified or something. So that's why I'm featuring it here. I'm hoping that it does come back. But this is definitely one of the best from Penhaligon's. It's definitely very orange blossom citrus forward. A little bit of green in there. Comes off powdery, but you do have that kind of a soapy, waxy texture here as well. So giving me a like major soap fragrance effect. But it smells great. Really, really awesome. So that is Castille from the house of Penhaligon's. By the way, Penhaligon's is with Puig. Puig launched the website Wiki Parfum, and they've locked it out. You can't get in anymore. They give you they want you to do a questionnaire to let you in, but I haven't been notified, so I don't know what the hell's going on with that website. Does anybody have any info? Let us know. Add a comment below. So let's move on now to the men's Clinique, the one that I wore so much of. This is Happy. Clinique Happy for men. So the color of the bottle is what you will smell. Orange juice, but more like the fruit. Super juicy orange. It's sweet, a little bit tart. There's some light fruits in there. Maybe light aromatics. You do get some greenness. But in the end, it's very, very happy. Super happy. Uplifting, clean, easy to wear fragrance. But sadly, it's gotten weak. It's gotten weak. It's an eau de toilette. It's not super strong. But anybody looking for an orange fragrance, I think this should satisfy. I mean, maybe perhaps we might come off a little bit old school, but I wouldn't say it's like really old school. No, I wouldn't. That's Clinique Happy for men. Let me know if you're a fan. Did you wear that? Are you wearing it? Would you wear it? Let us know. Add a comment below. And so Clinique Happy was $19.99. The Clinique Happy for men was $99. Clinique Happy for women was $97. And Penhaligon's Castile was $19.98. And if I did not mention when Acqua di Sale came out, it was $19.96. And finally, Elizabeth Arden's Green Tea from $19.99. For some strange reason, I keep thinking this came out earlier than 1999. I guess it came out in 1999. This is green tea, created by Francis Crichton. Wow, it's kind of stuck. Kind of a old school sprayer there. Sadly, this is very light. It's not going to last. It's kind of like an Eau De Cologne. In fact, it might even be an Eau De Cologne. Doesn't really say the concentration. But what I like about this, it's light, easy to wear, like an after shower kind of a thing. If you want to make it super dense, pick up a bottle of Molecule 1 plus black tea. So you'd add, this is all very bright and fresh and green and clean and still very, it comes off grassy as well. So with the Molecule 1 plus black tea, you're going to give it depth, you're going to give it woods and smokiness from the black tea. And so the two will work together. The Molecule 1 plus black tea will be probably stronger than this. So if you do 2 sprays of that, maybe 5 of this, and you'll have this nice tea cocktail. But to me, this is very easy to wear, super light, fresh, green. It's green tea. It doesn't last too long, but it smells super fantastic. That's what I like about this one. Very cozy, very, very cozy, from the house of Elizabeth Arden. This is the only Elizabeth Arden fragrance I have. I mean, I had to have this because it is Francis Crichton, but it's very, very light. It doesn't last at all, but it smells great. So Elizabeth Arden's green tea, great fresh fragrance, focusing on tea. I guess the 90s were tea, all about tea, right? We did a lot of tea in the 90s, at least what we spoke about here in today's video. But we're going to move on to the 2000s next. All right, continuing on with the fragrances. We're in the years 2001, I should say. But this is the 2000s. And we're starting off with Dolce & Gabbana's Light Blue. Another feminine targeted release in the collection of 100 fresh fragrances. So this is, even though a feminine release, I would say the fact that Creed has something sort of similar means that a man can pull it off. It's fresh and fruity and lightly floral. Apples are key here. It's juicy, it's drippy, wet, but very fun fragrance, I think. Perfect, easy, freshy, and it smells great to me. There's a Creed fragrance, Jardin, is it Jardin d'Amalfi? Is that the fragrance that I'm thinking of that's kind of similar to this? So yeah, if you like that fragrance and you want something super inexpensive, I think this should satisfy. And it's a great one, created by Olivier Cresp. It smells really, really wonderful, I think. So a great freshie for the ladies, but a man can totally pull that off. That is Dolce & Gabbana's Light Blue for the ladies. Unfortunately, I'm not featuring the men's version in this video. I was never a fan of it, so I left it off. But there's a ton of other fragrances here we're going to talk about now. Most importantly, this next freshie, which I consider one of the most important freshies released in a long time. This is Mugler's Cologne. So Mugler's Cologne. Original. This is the Come Together version. And I don't know the current version that is supposed to be out now. But Mugler's Cologne I discovered when it was out. It was launched for the first time in 2001. And I've been a fan of it. I love that smell. It's a very distinct smell. And I think it focuses on the petitgrain note. If you're a fan of green orange leaves or bitter orange leaves, this is definitely one for you to try. This is an Alberto Moria's creation. And the story was Terry Mugler was visiting somewhere, I think in Morocco, that he discovered a soap that he really liked, and they made it into a fragrance. And it was the unisex release from the Mugler house. I don't think it became as popular as CK One, but I think this is, for me, more important than CK One, because I like the way this one smells in comparison to CK One, more than CK One, I should say. but I'm glad they brought it back. I'm not 100% sure they've launched it yet in the States, but I read that it was coming back. I even saw ads running on Facebook, and I just don't see it anywhere. If it's back and you guys can find it, let us know. But to me, it's one of the best. It's fresh, it's citruses, it's neroli, it's orange blossom, and of course that petitgrain note that is very, very key here that I think does this fragrance perfectly. So that's Mugler's Cologne. That's the come together version. Up next, going to the house of Frederic Malle. This is Jean-Claude Helena's fragrance Bvlgari Concentree. Really great scent, by the way. Super awesome. I had, for the longest time, Cologne Concentree, but that fragrance I had bought from someone getting rid of their collection. I don't think they had kept that in a good condition, because it turned on me, even though this room is, temperature controlled and everything. That fragrance turned. I think the condition it was kept in before I got it myself was bad. So I ended up not buying the Cologne version. I got the Concentree version. But I don't even know if the Cologne version is still selling. But the Concentree version is super zesty, bitter fragrance. There's a little bit of a reminder in this of some stuff he's done for Hermes. There's a little bit of a reminder in this for stuff that he's done for Cartier. Most importantly, Declaration. But it's a very zesty, spicy, woody take on oranges. And I think we're talking about bitter orange once again, because this is called Bvlgari Concentree. What's the fragrance from the Terre de Hermes collection? The fresh one that got discontinued and replaced with Eau Givre. This also reminded me of that. There is a little bit of spice like cumin in this, but to me, it's awesome. It smells great in the heat. It smells super fantastic. Frederic Malle's Bvlgari Concentree. Let me know if you're a fan of that. Speaking of Jean-Claude Helena, we're going to the house of Hermes. This is Un Jardin en Méditerranée. Yeah, I bought this in 2003. Could be 2004, like just after it had launched. And been a fan of it since then. And even though I said my gateway to fig fragrances was Philosophes, I think it started with this. I discovered Philosophes after this, probably like 2 or 3 years after this fragrance. But this, Un Jardin en Méditerranée, to me, is more of the fruit rather than... Well, it has the greenness in there as well, but I do pick up the fruits in this as well. But it's fresh, it's fruity, it's green, it's a little citrusy, a little floral, but inspired by a Mediterranean garden. And that's the collection. Whoa. Sometimes these caps don't go on very well. So, Un Jardin en Méditerranée, I believe, is the very first Jardin collection fragrance, followed by Sur le Nil, I believe. But this is my favorite in the collection. Still, hands down, is my favorite. I absolutely love the smell, because I love fig fragrances, and fig fragrances are awesome. If you've spent any time around fig trees, you get to appreciate the smell of the fig fragrances. Great stuff that Jean-Claude Helena has done. So that is Un Jardin en Méditerranée from the Hermes Jardin collection. Up next, going to the house of Bvlgari once again. This is Eau Blanc. And I always mention this. I prefer Eau Blanc over Eau Vert. And I don't know why that Vert is... It doesn't click with me for some reason. I don't know. This to me is musky and powdery and super soft and pillowy. And it's a Jean-Claude, not Jean-Claude Helena, it's a Jacques Cavalier is what I should say. And he did quite a few fragrances for Bvlgari and tea fragrances. In fact, he did the Bvlgari Pour Homme fragrances. And so he got his practice there, and then he perfected it with something like Imagination for Louis Vuitton. But this Thé Blanc is so good. I don't think it's super strong. And again, I have the Eau De Cologne version here. These fragrances, the Thé Verte and Thé Blanc fragrances got reformulated to an Eau de Toilette now. So do they last longer? Are they stronger? But for me, I can totally liberally spray this stuff on. Clean, soft, powdery, musky tea. Better than Thé Verte. Even though I love Jean-Claude Helena's work, I prefer Thé Blanc here, created by Jacques Cavalier. So that is Bvlgari Au Thé Blanc. Oh, I'm sorry. I switched the fragrances around, but both Jardin en Méditerranée and Bvlgari Au Thé Blanc are from 2003. The Mugler Cologne was 2001. I got to keep remembering to tell you guys the dates. And of course, the Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue was also from 2001. Frederic Mall's Bigarade Concentree is from 2002. So going to the house of Chanel next, it's Allure Homme Sport. Taking the Allure Homme DNA into a sporty direction. So they've definitely added some marineness in here. And I think they've also amped up some tonka. It's fresh. Marine notes are prominent. There's some citruses in here. The tonka is prominent, which I think the fragrance collection, the original Allure and all of the rest of the fragrances are all about tonka. Tonka is a keynote in the Allure collection. This is a easy to wear fragrance. It's a bit salty marine for sure. And it gets sweeter and amberier in the dry down, especially with that tonka in the base. What do you guys think? Are you a fan of the Allure Homme series of fragrances? Do you like Allure Homme Sport? Add a comment below. We're heading back to the house of Hermes. Back-to-back two fragrances. This is the year 2004. This is Eau de Merveille. Yeah, it's an ambery freshy. And that's a kind of orangey. And this is also Jean-Claude Helena. We've got a lot of his work here. This has got a major Hermes DNA on it, so much. But it's bright, it's clean, it's watery, it's aquatic, I should say. It's a bit spicy and lightly ambery in the base. It's pretty. Even though I think it's a women's, it's a women's offering, I think, right? This is not a unisex offering. It's pretty light, though. I think this is Eau de Toilette. Where does it say the Eau de Toilette? Yeah, it's Eau de Toilette. This would be perfect for summer. Super fresh. Very fresh. That's Eau de Merveille from the House of Hermes from 2004. And we've got 2005, Un Jardin sur le Nil. So remember I spoke to you guys about Eau de Campagne from the House of Sisley. So Jean-Claude Helena did that fragrance. That is tomato leaf. Even though Hermes doesn't publicize tomato leaf on this, it's a bit tomatoey. And this is more, well, this is more the fruit. There's definitely something pulpy in here. There's a major pulpy effect happening. It's fresh. I prefer the Mediterranean, but I do like this one. I've gotten used to it. There's something salty in there as well. Not necessarily meaning like marine, but if you want something a bit more substantial, I think the Un Mediterranean is going to do it for you. With Un Jardin sur le Nil, you have to appreciate the subtleties. The smells are not super strong. but enjoyable. It's a bit more minimalistic, I should say. Lighter and fresher, although both are fresh. So that is Un Jardin sur le Nil from the House of Hermes, created by Jean-Claude Elena. We're going to the House of Agua di Parma next. This is Fico de Amalfi, another fig fragrance. So for me, my fig series started with Un Jardin on Mediterranee, Philosophes after that, then Fico de Amalfi. Then, oh wait, no. We are forgetting the Jo Malone Fig and Cassis. I think Jo Malone Fig and Cassis came before Un Jardin on Mediterranee, now that I think about it. That was an awesome scent. It's discontinued now. So, Fig and Cassis, Wild Fig and Cassis from Jo Malone. Then it was Un Jardin on Mediterranee. Then it was Philosophes. Then it was Fico de Amalfi. But this is super fruity with lightly green notes in there. Juicy fruits. Figs are not necessarily juicy, but there's definitely a juicy characteristic here. It's fresh, fun, playful, lightly bitter, lightly green, but definitely super fruity. Really enjoyable fragrance. This is an eau de toilette, so it's not super strong, but definitely does a good job here, making it a very fun fragrance. Are you guys a fan of Fico de Amalfi? Let me know. Add a comment below. All right, up next, going to the House of Eccentric Molecules with Molecule 1. Yeah, this I'm putting as a freshie. It's a molecular fragrance, single note, one note, called ISOE Super. And it's minimalistic, musky, woody. Be warned with this one, if you are not sensitive to it, you will not smell it. But for me, it's so super strong right now. So for me, ISOE Super is the main ingredient here. It's supposed to smell like cedar. It's a bit creamy as well, like sandalwood. So for me, it's like a fusion of best of cedar and a little bit of sandalwood thrown in. But I love this. Very minimalistic to wear. Very easy to wear. Fresh woods. Fresh, musky woods. Who's a fan? Molecule 1 by Eccentric Molecules, just to provide you a little bit more info. When you first put your nose to that, and your nose is not super trained with a lot of ingredients and notes and fragrances, you might not smell anything with that one. Don't give up on that fragrance because it takes some time for your nose to pick it up and you're finally going to smell it. I mean, it's super strong right now. My thing was probably 5 to 7 times I had to give it a try before I really started smelling anything. You have to train your nose. And once you smell it, you'll smell it very strong. So don't give up. So that is Molecule 1 from Eccentric Molecules. Then we are going to the House of Hermes once again. Another Jean-Claude Elena creation. But this one I feel like it's fresh, but it's a deeper with woods. And this is the Eau de Toilette version of Terre de Hermes. Yep, this came out in 2006. Yes, 2006, and that's when I first bought it. 2006 was my very first trip to France. First time I went there. And I bought a bottle of that at Nordstrom and took it with me. Wore it quite a bit. It is spicy. It is woody. It is earthy. A little bit minerally. But there's lots of orangey citruses. Maybe a little bit of grapefruit in there as well. One of the best men's fragrances out there, I think. Still to this day. Super iconic creation by Jean-Claude Elena. And a very signature smell. I love that. It smells great. It's also very masculine. Definitely a men's fragrance. Do you guys get a lot of orange from Terre de Hermes? Is it more grapefruit? Because there's definitely a zestiness in there. So I think the zestiness is coming from the grapefruit, but otherwise the orange is, you know, sweeter. Doesn't have a lot of like astringency or zestiness or bitterness. That's good. It's a really, really great fragrance for sure. Very classic. Love it. All right, that is Terre de Hermes by the House of Hermes, created by Jean-Claude Helena. Now they've got, I don't know how many flankers of that thing. Although the last year's flanker was a dud. I hated it. With that coffee note, not worth it. All right, next, going to the House of Le Labo, one of the best citrus fragrances on the market. It's Bergamot 22. Love the way this one smells. Super gorgeous, floral bergamot. Now, bergamot is a floral citrus. So what they've done is added flowers in here, and it brings out their citrusy qualities or something. And this is so super gorgeous, so beautiful, so fresh to wear in the summer. I love it. It smells amazing. And it's also a little bit green. So you've got a lot of the juiciness of the bergamot. Maybe some other citruses are thrown in here. Floral notes and green notes together with, you know, the typical Le Labo musk in the base. It's amazing. I love that. It's definitely, like I said, one of the best citrus fragrances of all time. Let me spray myself. Yeah, it's super fantastic, this one. It's Le Labo, but you know, it's wonderful. The greenness, the floral touches, the fact that, you know, it's not bitter like grapefruit, it's not tart like lemons. It doesn't get sweet like oranges. It's the perfect citrus, capitalizing on the bergamot, highlighting the bergamot, making it the star, and smelling amazing. I think it's Daphne Bouget, right? Is it Bouquet or Bouget? I think she created that one. It's truly one of the best citruses. Let me know if you're a fan of Bergamot 22 by Le Labo. Add a comment below. Up next, going to the House of Nautica. It's Voyage or Voyage. A cheapie that's definitely worth having in a collection, and definitely one of the best definitely one of the best fresh fragrances ever created. Created by Maurice Roussel. And I don't usually look to Nautica for fragrances, but this is quite quality. You can get it for like $15. It's a bit juicy, apple forward, and then there's also a lot of aquatic notes in here. It's not marine, it's very aquatic to me. It's got a crispness, freshness, light muskiness, fruitiness, and it doesn't break the bank. Now, it's very light, so wear it in the hottest days and spray it liberally with that one. Don't be shy, but I think it's definitely worth it for the price. $15 to $20 for 100 ml. Super cheap. I mean, Nautica was creating some or releasing some great fragrances back in the day. I wore some in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s. They were really, really great. But I kind of gave up on Nautica fragrances. That's probably the very last modern Nautica fragrance that I have in my collection. There might be a few others that are not as good as this, but I think it's definitely worth having in the collection, especially if you're on a budget. Nautica Voyage, that's launched in 2006. Also in 2006, we've got another fragrance from the House of Perfume Roma. This is Aqua Viva. So this, to me, seems inspired by... This is 2006, right? I thought it was in the 90s. This is, to me, inspired a little bit by Eau d'Adrien. But with Perfume Roma, it's a linear offering. It's no heart note. It's not top notes, no heart notes, no base notes. They're also on the oily side, so you can actually rub. But in the end, this is that limoncello, lemon lozenge, lemon drop, lemon heads kind of an experience. Super tart lemons with aromatic woods and spices, and maybe a little musk in the base. One of my favorite offerings for sure. And I really love lemony fragrances. I think between this and Le Labo's Bergamot 22, I love the smell of Bergamot 22 a little more. But to me, Perfume Roma's Aqua Viva is awesome. Definitely one of the best citruses, I would say. One of the best freshies, I should say. Who's a fan of Aqua Viva? Let me know. Add a comment below. It's so good though, right? Do you wear Perfume Roma fragrances and do you rub? Or are you totally against rubbing? So when I visited the brand in 2018, I shot a video in their flagship store in Rome. The associates there were promoting rubbing the fragrances of Perfume Roma because, like I said, no top notes, no heart, no base. It's all linear. So you're not going to, like, when you're rubbing your fragrance, you're basically burning the top notes faster. So in this case, it's not going to do that. So that's why these are rubbable. So do you rub? I don't generally rub unless I want to moisturize, unless I spray this on after a shower when I'm clean, and then I could rub it. But generally, I don't do the rubbing myself. But let me know if you guys do, and let me know if you're a fan of Aqua Viva by the house of Perfume Roma. Let's move on to the house of Versace. It's Versace Man Eau Fraiche. This is also a cheapie. You can get this for fairly inexpensive. And it's a great freshie. Super easy to wear. Crisp citruses. Light spices, maybe a little bit of musk thrown in. This has been popular in the fragrance community with men quite a bit. There's something very cozy about this. There's light creamy undertones, but easy to wear, very citrusy, super juicy, lightly zesty. I'm not the biggest fan of Versace fragrances, but they do have some good ones that they had created in the past. This Versace Man Eau Fraiche came out in 2006. We're still in 2006, but we're just about to move on to 2007. Let me know if you're a fan of Versace Man Eau Fraiche. You know, I bought the new one as well. Was it the Extreme? I didn't care for it. I think the original is better, but obviously the Extreme is much more potent. I prefer the original for sure. So let's move on to the year 2007. We're going to the house of Creed next. It's Virgin Island Water. Yeah, this is very, very popular. Super popular. This came out before Aventus also. And you know, you can do a layering thing with this and Aventus, and you would end up getting a pina colada. But for me, this is fruity, coconutty offering. Very tropical. Super cozy as well. There's the coconut creaminess in here that lends a cozy feel to the fragrance. It's super cozy. It's really fun. It's fresh, but the creaminess is adding that layer of warmth in there, which is kind of fun. And that makes it super welcoming. But very tropical. There's a little booziness in here as well. And that's why layering it with Aventus, which has the pineapple, and the fact that it's coconut and booze, like rum, creates a kind of a pina colada effect. On its own, it's really wonderful. You know what I would do with this one also? I would do is add a little something salty. Like Le Persona has a fragrance called Salty Skin. I think the two together would be awesome. But anyway, I think I think they should make a flanker of Creed's Virgin Island water plus salt. Something like that. It would make it a bit, you know, more like beachy. A little like going into like towards a marine thing. Let me know if you're a fan of Virgin Island water. Add a comment below. And let me know if you have ever layered it with the Ventus or another fragrance that's similar to a Ventus. Let's move on to the House of Guerlain next. It's Mandarin Basilique from 2007. I discovered this in 2019, although I was aware of it. I didn't really get into it until 2019, and I became obsessed with it. But you know what? It does remind me of something similar to this, minus the basil note. It reminds me a little bit of Afternoon Swim, by the way. And I'll get to that in a little bit. Mandarin Basilique is mandarin orange and basil. So it's a juicy mandarin orange fragrance with the addition of that green herbal basil note. The two together are a match made in heaven. It smells great. Very fruity, very fresh and citrusy, contrasted with that greenness basil note. Who's a fan of this one? I haven't bought the Forte edition. I probably should sometime soon. I know it's been out for a while. The freshness of the original is quite good. I feel like the Forte, from what I remember sniffing really quickly, it's gone into a thicker, denser direction. But sometimes fresh fragrances are better when they're not as dense. But either way, it's all preference. I'll have to dig into it. But this version here is really fantastic. Really love that. And mandarin orange is not something that comes up quite a bit in fragrances, mandarin orange or tangerine. So it's always nice to see it. And they've captured the smell quite lovely, like really authentically. So that is Mandarin Basilique from the House of Guerlain from 2007. Next, we're going to the House of Acqua di Parma once again. It's Mirto de Panarea. Yeah, I'm putting this here. This Blue collection, Blue Mediterraneo collection, they're all fresh fragrances. This doesn't act as fresh because it's the myrtle note. It's a flower that produces these little berries that are quite yummy. But there's something distinct about the smell of this. It's a little soapy. And it's not your traditional like tuberose or jasmine flower. It's got a very distinct, almost herbal, soapy smell. And they've captured it here perfectly in this fragrance. That's the signature. Let me know if you guys have had myrtle berries. Have you had it, eaten it? It's a very distinct smell. And I think sometimes they might be confused. They kind of look like blueberries, but they're not. And their flavor is so different compared to blueberries. Because I've eaten those, and you know how smell and taste are kind of connected, I enjoy this one quite a bit. That's why I enjoy it. But I think it's a plant that grows on the Mediterranean, and it's a perfect inspiration for this fragrance, I think. And Micallef has a fragrance called Oseto. It's kind of similar, but their fragrance goes into a marine direction. Literally, it's on the Mediterranean. Here it doesn't. So that is Mirto de Panarea from the House of Acqua di Parma. One more Chanel Allure flanker. This time is Edition Blanche. Gosh, there was a time I was wearing so much of this. A lot. I was wearing it quite a bit. This is a very lemony, creamy take on the original Allure Homme DNA. It's still fresh, but it's got some depth now. It's creamier. That creamy depth makes it a little bit more not as fresh. But the lemoniness in here adds the layer of freshness. But I love this. I wore it so much. I still remember it. You still have the original DNA of Allure Homme in here. But again, it's just gotten into that super lemony, creamy base. Yeah, early on when you're digging into a lot of different fragrances, these fragrances pop up. Although they've gotten kind of older now. But when I first got on the scene, these were not as old. So getting in the scene around 2012, it was like 4 or 5 years old. This came out in 2008. Now it's almost 20 years old. But still, it smells good. If you like that DNA of Allure Homme, you would enjoy the Edition Blanche. So that is Chanel's Allure Homme Edition Blanche. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. So next, also in 2008, we're going to Dior Homme Sport. And this version is the 2021 version, but it originally came out in 2008, by the way. I would say this is a pretty popular offering. It's not my favorite. This is super citrusy and spicy. I don't get much of the original Dior Homme DNA here. For me, the Sport is the least Dior Homme-like DNA. But it's zingy, it's spicy, it's fresh. Very citrusy. Let me know if you're a fan. I personally think the previous editions of Dior Homme Sport were better than the 2021 version. Is this a Francis Kirkgen, or this was what's his name? Francois Demachet version. This must be Francois Demachet. I think if this came out in 21, he might have made it before he left. Because I don't think Francis did anything until the following year. Although I enjoy a lot of Francois Demachet's creations, this is not one of my favorites. I'm highlighting it for you guys since it is a very popular, definitely one of the more popular citrus and fresh fragrance offerings out there in the world of fragrances. That's from 2008, but the version I showed you is from 2021. We're going to the House of Eccentric Molecules again next. This is Molecule 2. You a fan of Molecule 2? Molecule 2 is a molecular fragrance focusing on ambroxan. But to me, it's so minimalistic, it's very fresh. So, to me, this one is tough to smell compared to Molecule 1. I think the amount they're using in this is not strong. But wear it on skin, and I think it'll amplify a little bit more. And it creates this muskiness, salty, amber, woods together, all that combo on skin. But if you like it minimalistic, but fresh, fragrances that don't weigh you down, try this. But it's very, very minimalistic. Not much going on there. I can pick up the ambroxan a little bit. And ambroxan is supposed to be like a alternative to ambergris, but it doesn't smell much like ambergris at all. I think it's the idea more than the smell. All right, so that's Molecule 2 from the House of Eccentric Molecules. We've got one more Versace, and I don't have a cap for this one, sadly. I bought a tester. This is Versace Pour Homme. Another freshie from the house. I wish I had a cap, though. I hate it when they don't send the caps. For me, compare this one to Man Eau Fresh. This one has something like tonka in it or something in the base. So there's like a creamy smoothness. while being all fresh up top. Citruses, lightly aromatic, I think, and then that creamy layer in the base, which creates a softness, a coziness. Easy to wear fragrance, totally easy to wear. This on skin is really, really awesome. It's been a while since I've spoken about this. I used to speak about it on the previous channel, but it was very popular in the community for a long time. In the fragrance community, this was spoken about quite a bit. So it had a following. So this came out in 2008. This is Versace Pour Homme. Let me know if you're a fan. You can tell it's a tester because they've got that on there. There's some other writing under, right on there. Anyway, I think it's a tester and they've sealed it. They've covered that up with whatever that notification is on there. So the next fragrance, going to the house of Byredo, this is Blanche. So Blanche, or Blanche, Blanche, I think it's sounding better. Blanche is an aldehydic fragrance, super fresh, laundry-like, clean, soapy, easy to wear, fizzy and sparkling, effervescent as well. Like there's a major fizziness here. Almost like cola, but it's not cola. It's more soapy cola, if there is such a thing, because there isn't. But definitely one of the more popular offerings from the house of Byredo. This is Blanche. They've made an Absolute, a Parfum version of this. I'm really bummed that the extracts have gotten reformulated from the house. Are they reformulating the original fragrances as well? I haven't bought much from the recent batches. If you guys know, let me know. I want to do a Byredo deep dive, but again, Byredo has such a huge catalog. I don't have everything. And also the fragrances have changed, which I'm bummed about. I have 3 of the extracts previous to the change, and I have 1 of the Absolutes. I actually have the Absolute for Blanche, and I want to get the Bal d'Afrique and maybe 1 or 2 more of the Absolutes. Plus, also I want to pick up some new ones because they've got some new ones, and in fact, Byredo is launching a few fragrances with perfumer Quentin Biche now. So they are moving on from Jérôme Epinay of Robertet. They're going to Givaudan. Makes sense because Byredo was purchased by Puig. Jean-Paul Gaultier is also with Puig. Jean-Paul Gaultier uses Givaudan perfumers quite a bit. Like Quentin Biche does a lot of the Le Male fragrances. So I think that connection is there. Maybe that's why they've moved Byredo over there. I don't know. What do you guys think of that? All of that stuff going on with these brands. When brands are taken over. You know, also, what happened with the Estee Lauder and Puig, what do you call it, deal that was going to happen? I guess that didn't really go through, huh? Probably a good thing? What do you guys think? I don't know. It would have made a huge conglomerate for sure. I think they were trying to compete with L'Oreal, but I don't think it's going to happen. So one more fragrance from 2009. We're going to the house of Xerjoff. This is Neo. One of the best bergamot fragrances out there. This time with Neo from Xerjoff. Goes into a bit of an old school direction. Goes into a little bit of a slight barbershop. To me, it's kind of more in line with something like Eau Sauvage. Some of those fragrances like the Moustache, the original, 1949. But it is bergamot, so you really have the bergamot in your face, which is cool, because the bergamot in this does remind me of the bergamot in the Le Labo Bergamot 22, but it has some like barbershoppy old school aromatic herbal touches in here that takes it away from reminding me of the Le Labo. Because the Le Labo is super modern. This has classic touches, but doesn't mean it's bad. I love the way it smells. It's just giving you a heads up. If you don't like classic fragrances, maybe stay away from this one. But it's so good. I love old school fragrances. I love classic fragrances. I love barbershoppy fougere style fragrances. So, but for me, bergamot is a very modern note, or the usage of it is very modern in comparison to some things that I was perhaps wearing in the 80s and 90s. Great scent though. So that is Xerjoff's Neo. Let me know if you're a fan. All right, now we're going into the 2010s. Lots of fragrances here, guys. First of which is Acqua di Parma's Bergamotto di Calabria. Yes, we've got several of the Blue Mediterraneo fragrances here in this collection. This is the fourth one. I think it's the fourth one. Oh, this is the third one. So, Bergamotto di Calabria, Guerlain has a Bergamotto di Calabria, Paris Monte Carlo has a Bergamotto di Calabria. I just wanted to feature this one because this collection is more popular, I think. And to me, this is the bergamot come to life. But it's more simplistic than something like Le Labo's Bergamot 22 or Xerjoff's Neo, whereas Le Labo's Bergamot 22 goes into the green petitgrain direction, picking up some touches of fragrances like Mugler Cologne. And then it has lots of gorgeous flowers in there. And this, to me, is just the fruit itself, the bergamot fruit. Not too much excitement, but it's more simplistic. If you just want the fruit, this is it. It's fresh. It's lightly floral because the bergamot has those light floral touches. But in the end, it's a nice balance of sweet and tart together. But I wouldn't say this is sweet. It's just more like a balanced citrus fruit. Slight tartness and a little bit sweetness. But it's very, very fresh. It's also Acqua di Parma, so they make quality offerings for sure, especially when it comes to fresh fragrances. Maybe it's a little bit old school as well. I'm not sure if that's what you guys would think. I'm picking up something classic in here, which is kind of sort of reminiscent of their original Colonia. But that's faint. That's way in the bottom. It's faint. It's mostly the bergamot here. And the bergamot is the star. Bergamotto di Calabria from the house of Acqua di Parma. And speaking of Acqua di Parma, I bought this fragrance just for this video. I hadn't owned it, and I finally have it, and I'm in love with it. This is the Essenza version of the original Acqua di Parma Colonia. So I will tell you guys, this is getting a makeover, and the bottle is turning clear, guys. So it's turning clear. So if you like the black bottle and you've been wanting a bottle, get it right away, because Neiman's currently has this as a clear bottle. So they've already redone it. But to me, the Essenza is a stronger take on the original, keeping the barbershoppy touches prominent, but a lot of zesty citruses and aromatics are in here. But you will be reminded of, barbershoppy fragrances. But when I'm saying barbershoppy fragrances, it's more like citrus-focused barbershoppy fragrances. So I would say this kind of falls into the category of something like Eau Sauvage, the Moustache 1949, the Chanel Paul Monsieur, and things like that. But a bit more robust, even though this is, I think it's an Eau De Cologne. Yep, it is an Eau De Cologne. It does come off a bit stronger than the original, though. Who's a fan of the Essenza compared to the original Colonia from Acqua di Parma? This does go into a slightly darker, a little more intense direction. But overall, very similar to the original. One thing I forgot to mention, it's quite soapy and clean. So that's what's good about Acqua di Parma fragrances. They're always very soapy and clean offerings. So that is Acqua di Parma's Colonia and Essenza. Then we're going to the same year, 2010. We got a lot of 2010, by the way. Several more coming up. This is Chanel's Bleu de Chanel. Yeah, I have to include it here. This is the original Bleu de Chanel from 2010. To me, it's a citrusy, spicy, woody offering, and that's pretty much it. This fragrance, compared to Sauvage, does have a light creaminess under beneath it all. Softness. I think they're using sandalwood. It took them quite a long time to make a flanker of this. And as I was saying earlier, why didn't they do something similar to what they did with Egoist and Platinum Egoist? They could have even done something like Bleu de Chanel, Platinum Bleu de Chanel, and change the smell, completely change it. But to me, I mean, this is a very popular offering. I'm listing it here as one of the fragrances. I prefer the Parfum edition more. The exclusive I do enjoy, but I felt the price was too high. But this is very popular. People love it. It's simple, easy to wear, and it's for the person that wants to smell great but doesn't want to be wearing a fragrance that gets in the way. This is more like an afterthought. A dumb reach fragrance. Yeah, we can say that about Chanel. Dumb reach. Chanel can be dumb reach, right? Are you a fan? That bottle has been with me since about 2016. All right. Next, probably the most popular fresh fragrance of all time, especially from the last 15, 16 years. This is Creed's Aventus. Yep, it is very popular. How many fragrances came after Creed's Aventus? So this is created by Jean-Christophe Herold, who I believe trained under Pierre Bourdon. Jean-Christophe Herold is at IFF. And I think also Julien Rascanet trained under Pierre Bourdon, right? Because Julien Rascanet has also created a few Creeds. Most importantly, Royal Oud, which is my favorite, and the Vetiver Geranium, which is awesome. Excuse me. But Creed's Aventus, it's fruity with pineapple and some citrus fruitiness. It's earthy patchouli, it's mossy, it's woodsy, lightly smoky. I can see why this is popular. It's so good. Much better to me as a smell compared to the Chanel. How many brands have copied Bleu de Chanel? How many brands have copied Creed Aventus? But yeah, Creed Aventus, if I had to pick between Bleu de Chanel or Creed Aventus, it would be Creed Aventus. There's also some musks in the Creed Aventus that adds a sexy layer. But the Bleu de Chanel is kind of boring. I think what I like about this is it's got this zesty reach, whereas the Bleu de Chanel comes off flat and kind of like underwhelming. Anyway, not saying that Creed Aventus is the best fragrance ever created, but if I had to pick between two fragrances that came out the same year, Chanel Bleu de Chanel or Creed Aventus, I would much rather go with Creed Aventus. All right, next up, we're going to the house of Juliet Has a Gun. It's not a perfume. Yes, I'm featuring this as a freshie here because there's not much going on. It's a minimalistic fragrance, and it's one ingredient or one note called Cetalox. And you wear this, it's musky, and mixed with your chemistry, you create this special fragrance with the ingredient that's in that fragrance called Cetalox. Cetalox is like ambroxan, so it's musky, salty, ambery, woody, powdery, and it creates a really nice fragrance. It's very minimalistic, not too much scent, and probably people say this is smelling like alcohol, not much there, but give it a try. But for me, if I was going with Molecule 1, I can smell it much stronger than this fragrance, which is very soft in its smell. The Cetalox is minimal amounts they're using in comparison to, there's a version of this called Superdose. Is it Superdose? Yeah, Superdose. That version is really, really strong, where you can really smell the ingredient, the Cetalox, because it's like in larger quantities they've used. Here they've used it very minimalistically. It's clean, it's soft, it's fresh, it's musky, powdery, salty, ambery, woody. Anyway, it's a great scent. I like this. I would wear it if I'm tired of fragrances. Not that I'm ever tired of fragrances, but I do get bored a little bit and I want just something minimalistic and musky to wear. So that is Juliet Has a Gun, Not a Perfume. Next, we're going to the house of Penhaligons once again. This is Orange Blossom. Yeah, Penhaligon's bottles are cute, aren't they? The ribbons are really cute. And from the name, you already know what kind of a fragrance this is. Focusing on orange blossom, citrus floral notes, fresh, floral, citrusy, lightly spicy, powdery. Very easy to wear, and also soapy, I should say. This is not as sweet. There are other fragrances that feature, like we spoke about earlier, some orange blossom focused fragrances that went sweet. This is not sweet. It's a bit more I shouldn't use the word savory, but it doesn't have that sweetness. But it's lovely. Castile was sweeter, which is also from Penhaligon's. That was also it was also like orange blossom, citrus focused, but there was a sweetness with that one. Also, it went a bit more soapy compared to this one. But either way, this is Penhaligon's Orange Blossom. Let me know if you're familiar with that one. Add a comment below. We're going with Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Aqua Universalis Forte. I skipped the original one. I wanted to go with the Forte edition because I've never worn the original, which probably the Fortes are more popular than the original anyway. But I wore so much of this when it first launched, or when I first discovered it. It's a citrusy, musky, almost like laundry clean smell, which has some intensity and strength because it is the Forte. On skin, it's also clean and soapy, and it smells great. It's just the lovely way of creating lemony notes with musky notes and just a really wonderful laundry-like smell. It smells very, very clean. That's what I like about it. And also, clean fragrances are perfect when it's hot outside because kind of like cuts through that sweatiness if you're like sweating in the heat outside and gives you a subconscious clean feeling because these do come off very, very clean. But I was a big fan of this, huge fan of this when it first launched, and I was wearing quite a bit of it. Lovely scent. So that is Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Aqua Universalis Forte. So I'm going to do a quick segue here. I'm going to talk about Atelier Cologne. I was going back and forth a bit if I'm going to feature Atelier Cologne or if I'm not. since it's not easy to get them and there's not a lot of stock out there at the discounters, I decided to leave off Orange Sanguine, Clementine California, and a few other Atelier Cologne fragrances. Because they're distributed in Asia and China and not in the USA, and I don't know if they're around in Europe much, and so it doesn't make them easy to get. So I decided to leave them off because they have regional distribution, which is really weird. Every other fragrance that I'm talking about here don't have that kind of a distribution. They have distribution that's worldwide. So because of that, Atelier Cologne has been completely left off. It's a bummer because I like Orange Sanguine. It's a nice orange fragrance, and Clementine California and Bergamot Soleil is the other one that I was going to feature here. So none of those fragrances are here. And the reason why I'm talking about them right now, because around this time of the spot we're on, like around 2011, I believe, is when the brand launched. And so rather than having them here and you guys having a difficult time getting those fragrances, I decided to completely leave them off. Anyway, if you guys love Atelier Cologne, let me know. Add a comment below. Let's move on to the House of Mancera next. This is Cedrat Boisé from 2011. Although this is not the original Cedrat Boisé, this is the intense version. I don't currently have a bottle of the original, but it's fairly similar, whereas this one has gotten deeper, more intense, and a bit more leathery. But what I love about Cedrat Boisé is a fruity, citrusy take on something like Aventus. And they've removed pineapple and they've given us a fruity citrus fragrance. Fresh, intense citruses, and this really easy to wear experience, reminiscent of Aventus, but more lemony, citrusy, fruity rather than Aventus. So I guess it came out a year after Aventus came out, so most likely it was inspired. I'm glad they didn't do a pineapple because that would have been just way too literal. But there's reminders and familiarity there. But sometimes I prefer the Cedrat Boisé, and especially the intense version, because it's very pulpy fruits, and that's kind of what I like about this. There's a pulpiness about them, a thickness about them, so it makes the fruitiness come out more. And then with Aventus, it's a bit more cold. The fruits are not pulpy and fruity and juicy, so it's different. It's a different creation, while they're kind of inspired from one another. Well, Cedrat Boisé is inspired by Aventus. But I really enjoy Cedrat Boisé for a great citrusy freshie. So, Intense Cedrat Boisé or the original Cedrat Boisé, check those out if you don't know them. Wow, I forgot to put one fragrance out here. All right, the next fragrance is from the house of Tom Ford. We've got Neroli Portofino, which my counter is so packed. I don't have too much space for this here. And I can't find my spray bottle, so I had to pull out the decanter. But if you guys don't know Neroli Portofino, it's a very popular Tom Ford fragrance, focusing on the Neroli and for sure inspired by the famous 4711. So Tom Ford had quite a few fragrances in this citrus collection. They don't have them much of them anymore. Some of them have been moved into the signature line, and some of them have been discontinued. But Neroli Portofino is still around, and you can also get Mandarino di Amalfi minimally. Like, you can't find them everywhere, but it's still around. But this Neroli Portofino is a fresh citrusy fragrance focusing on the neroli and orange blossom, and you've got some light green notes like petitgrain thrown in there, some musky notes in the base. But overall, it's a citrus floral fragrance. Very fresh, very clean, super soapy, and perfect to wear when it's hot outside. Are you guys a fan of Neroli Portofino? I have a big bottle of the Forte edition as well. I never bought the Parfum edition that came out earlier, a couple of years ago. I've heard they are different in comparison to the Forte. I really love the Forte. The Forte lasted a long time. It really did. And I think the Parfum should last a long time as well. But I've heard from associates at Neiman Marcus that there's differences. So they're probably either trying to have me buy a bottle or it's really true. So I don't have it. But the Portofino, Neroli Portofino is very popular. And it's easy to wear, freshy. And, you know, it's just, you like the citrus floral notes, this is one that you can check out. I think it smells great. But I've already talked about so many different versions of this particular style of fragrance or DNA. And you've got to pick and choose which one you're going to do. But it's nice. It's a nice one. This is Neroli Portofino from the House of Tom Ford. All right, we're going to the House of Dior again. This is Dior Eau Cologne. Not the original that came out from a while ago, but this is one of the latest editions. And I prefer Dior Eau Cologne much more than Dior Eau Sport, personally. But I'm showing you both because they're both popular and they're very popular. Here with the Dior Eau Cologne, I get more of the powdery vibe of the Dior Eau DNA that I don't get with the Sport. What I like about the Dior Eau Cologne, it's super light, very lemony, but soft, not tart. Very, very fresh, clean. I love it. It smells great. It smells really wonderful. I just wish it lasted longer. It doesn't last too long, but it smells super fantastic. I believe the concentration on these are eau de toilette, even though they're called even though they're called cologne. I don't have the box here with me to double check, but I believe the concentration is eau de toilette, even though it's called a cologne. But for me, if I was to rank the collection, I know right now the Dior Eau Parfum is not my favorite. So right now, if it's the current Dior Eau Parfum, I would do Dior Eau Intense, Dior Eau Original, Dior Eau Cologne, Dior Eau 2020, Dior Eau Sport. That would be the ranking. If they had the original Dior Eau Parfum from 2020 or 2014, then it would be Dior Eau Parfum, Dior Eau Intense, Dior Eau Original, Dior Eau Cologne, Dior Eau 2020, Dior Eau Sport. But the Dior Eau Cologne is great. It's just not very long lasting, so you're going to have to spray a ton of it on. It smells great, though. It's easy to wear. I like the powdery softness. It's airy, it's fluffy. The lemon is not super tart, but you do notice that there's lemony touches. And I think there's iris here. There might even be some lemony blossom touches as well. It's a fantastic smell. Let me know if you're a fan of Dior Eau Cologne. Add a comment below. Up next, going to the House of Maison Margiela. It's Lazy Sunday Afternoon. Let me know if you're familiar with this one. Obviously, you probably are. If you like fragrances like Blanche, this is definitely something similar. It's a very crisp, fresh aldehydic offering with musky touches. I feel like this is also got some earthy notes and maybe a little bit of rose in there as well. But I get the name quite a bit. It's an easy to wear fragrance on that's something you can wear on a lazy Sunday morning. You just spritz it on and walk out and go on your day and smell great. For me, even though it's kind of similar style to Blanche, because it is aldehydic, I feel like this one has a bit more substance. There's some depth in it, whereas not going super soapy as much as Blanche does. But I enjoyed this one quite a bit. It's grown on me even further and further. And I wasn't the biggest fan earlier on, but now I'm enjoying it even further is what I'm trying to say. So that is Maison Margiela's Lazy Sunday Morning. Next, we're going to the House of Jo Malone. We've got Wood, Sage, and Sea Salt. Wood, sage, and sea salt, very popular for the house. You know, I also just smelled their salt and bergamot. I really enjoyed it, and I thought I was not going to enjoy that one. But this to me is a crowd pleaser, easy to wear, freshy, not super long lasting, but musky and aromatic, and also salty, which adds a kind of a marine depth, but not fully going to the marine side. I really like this one. I just wish it was a bit stronger, but I don't think they could get it as good as this with the concentration change. So just spritz away. This also has ambrette, which I did not mention, or maybe I did, which adds that musky layer. Let me know if you're a fan of wood, sage, and sea salt. So good. So good. All right, up next, we're going to the house of Tom Ford again, and we've got Mandarino di Amalfi, launched in 2014. So yes, this is the time when Tom Ford had a lot of different citruses or fresh fragrances in colored bottles like these. Like they had the Neroli Portofino in green, they had this in blue, and they had a few shades of different blue colored bottles. And this one actually to me is my second favorite. Well, I think this is probably my favorite next to Neroli Portofino. In fact, I might enjoy this one a little bit more because I love mandarin orange fragrances. I love the taste of mandarin oranges, so it makes me like this fragrance a little bit more. And for me, with Neroli Portofino, I think I found fragrances that are a bit better outside of that fragrance. That's why I kind of prefer this one a little bit over. But I like that it's mandarin oranges. It's sweet, tart, freshy, juicy, fruity as well. And just an all-around perfect sweet, fruity, citrus fruity fragrance. Sweet, tart, citrus fruity fragrance. And I thought this was, for the longest time, discontinued. And again, I don't think it's widely distributed. Maybe it is, but it's still selling out there and it's available at the discounters. So that's why I'm featuring it here today. Let me know if you're a fan of Mandarino di Amalfi from the house of Tom Ford. Are there any discontinued Tom Ford fragrances that were in this collection that you are missing? I think they had a fragrance called Venetian Bergamot. I think that's what it was. I couldn't stand that fragrance actually. Although that one actually was not in the colorful bottles. It was in the brown private blend color bottles. But there's nothing exciting about that fragrance. I don't know what it was about it, but I hated it. But there was a few others that were in this collection. But I think makes sense because the one that stood the test of time is Neroli Portofino, followed by Mandarino di Amalfi. So Mandarino di Amalfi from the house of Tom Ford. That is from the year 2014. Now we're moving on to the year 2015. We've got Aesop's Tacit. Tacit is a spicy citrus fragrance. Are you a fan of Tacit? Super spicy, very zesty citruses, a little astringent and tart, and then woods in the base, and totally fits the Aesop DNA. The Aesop fragrances, you don't go to Aesop to buy fragrances that are loud. These fragrances, none of them come off loud to me. But there are some great scents in the collection for sure. And Tacit is definitely one of the best. Might even be the most popular. There's three. Huil is probably the most popular. Tacit, followed by Tacit, and then it might be Marrakesh after that. So those three are the ones that also come in 100 ml bottles. They've recently introduced 100 ml bottles. And so it makes sense those are the most popular. But let me know your thoughts on Tacit. Are you guys a fan? Do you enjoy its citrusy touches and spicy touches? Add a comment below. I think it's created by Celine Burrell over at IFF. But we're moving on to the house of Dior once again. This is Sauvage. Yeah, Sauvage. This is the fragrance that the blue fragrance that Dior, no, I shouldn't say that. So this is the year that MFK and also Dior started using Ambroxan. Although I believe the Baccarat Rouge had come out the year before as a limited edition or something. I can't remember why, and it was widely released in 2015. But the utilization of Ambroxan started really, being mass featured in fragrances, especially with these two, and then everybody started using it in a lot of different fragrances. But what I like about Sauvage, it also mixes with aromatics and spices. So there are like fougere quality touches here, like fougere styling to it. And the lavender makes that happen. But it's a very modern fougere barbershop style fragrance. This isn't classic at all. Even Tom Ford's Beau de Jour came out in the latter part of the 2010s, probably like 3 years or 4 years after this Sauvage. That kind of is more classic fougere to me than this. I would call this a blue fougere. But it's very fresh, not utilizing on, or, utilizing a lot of or relying on citruses, but it's a very fresh fragrance with that musky Ambroxan in the base. To me, kind of like the comparison of Bleu de Chanel and Sauvage, Bleu de Chanel and Aventus. Same thing with this. If I'm going to pick between if I'm going to pick between Chanel, Bleu de Chanel, and Dior Sauvage, I would pick Sauvage over Bleu de Chanel. Bleu de Chanel is just boring. Now, the latter ones, the EDP and the Parfum, got more exciting and more interesting. But to me, the original, I never even picked up for a long time. But Sauvage, again, nothing like a masterpiece or anything to write home about. But if I was given a choice and I had to pick between Bleu de Chanel or Sauvage, I would pick Sauvage. Because to me, it acts more like Aventus in comparison to being very flat like the Bleu de Chanel is to me. Anyway, that is Sauvage from 2015. Let's go to the next fragrance, go into the house of Frederic Malle once again. This is Cologne Indelible. So, again, going back to the Neroli Portofino, this and Neroli Portofino have similarities. I would much rather wear this one in comparison to Neroli Portofino. This is bigger, louder, more intense, and there's something about it that gives me a major soapy effect, but also a super creamy undertone there that's acting like soap lather. But a lot of citrus florals here, like orange blossom neroli. There's probably some musks in there, maybe a little bit of petitgrain in there as well. And basically, they're using the citrus orange tree, bitter orange tree, in any way or as much as they can with all the different ingredients or things they can take from it, like the flowers and the leaves and the fruit themselves. It's so awesome. Really great fragrance. And again, to me, this and Neroli Portofino, I feel like are similar styles, but I much prefer this one over Neroli Portofino. But I'm not saying Neroli Portofino is bad. I'm just preferring this one. It's a great scent, created by Dominique Ropion. It's great longevity. I love it. It's that super clean feeling with it as well, because it is that super soapy fragrance. And anytime Neroli or Orange Blossom with citruses are featured in a fragrance, it most of the time, 99.9% of the time, comes off very soapy to me. And I like soapy fragrances. And sometimes it smells like soap, and sometimes Orange Blossom Neroli smells like soap, and that's what's happening here. All right, so that is Frederic Malle's Cologne Indelible. Then we're going to go to the House of Nichonnet. This is Wulong Cha from 2015 again, or as well, I should say. And Wulong Cha has been a more recent love for me. And I can't believe I skipped out on this and didn't embrace it sooner because it's such a great scent. Crisp green tea against invigorating fresh citruses. There's a juiciness about it. The tea is acting like that grassy effect that I mentioned. So I love this. It's just fantastic. There's some light floral notes in here. There's some light woods and maybe some light aromatics in there as well. And it comes off very green. It's a green fragrance, green and fresh. The tea gives you that soothing feeling, very cozy and comforting, but just smells fantastic. And I love the way this smells. Really, really great. I don't know why I don't know, maybe I was thinking Nichane is more for like more intense fragrances. So I decided to skip out on this one. But I'm glad I'm glad I discovered it and I enjoy it. It's probably one of the best tea fragrances out there on the market now, if not one of the best tea fragrances. The other thing I like about this one, and I didn't feature Ambra Calabria here because it is more of an amber, even though it has the fresh elements. This has traces of Ambra Calabria in it. Like, I think it's the same perfumer that created this. So they might have created it around the same time or knew that they were going to work on this. So they kind of pulled elements of one to the other. I can't remember which came first, but I believe both of these came out around the same time, Ambra Calabria and Oolong Cha. But this stuff is awesome. If you're looking for a new tea fragrance, go for Oolong Cha because it's fantastic. All right, so that is Oolong Cha from 2015. Next, we're going to the house of Profumum Roma once again. This is Orangea, the last and final Profumum Roma fragrance I'm going to talk about today, I think. Orangea is also paying tribute to the orange tree. We're focusing on Petitgrain here. And Petitgrain is the leaves of the bitter orange tree. It's green, it's bitter, it's super citrusy, it's orangey and woody at the same time. This smells fantastic. You can literally smell it as a thicker fragrance because it is the oily kind. Remember I was mentioning earlier that you can rub this fragrance on. But to me, if you love Petitgrain, after Mugler Cologne, this is one for you to check out because it is paying tribute to the Petitgrain, which is the bitter orange tree leaves. It smells great on skin too. Really, really wonderful. Just gotta love green citrus fragrances. I do get something creamy coconutty in there. I'm not sure where that comes from, but I kind of like that. So that's Orangea from the house of Profumum Roma from 2015. Now we're moving on to the year 2016. We've got Tigar from the house of Bvlgari, created by Jacques Cavalier. Even though he's the in-house perfumer at Louis Vuitton, this is Bvlgari. Yeah, Tigar is super sexy. Really super sexy. I just wish the extract that they just launched was not the direction they went in, but they did go that direction, which is a bummer. But this to me is grapefruit with a lot of zing. There's some light traces of ginger in there, which also has zing. And there's woods and spices in here, lightly, and a lot of ambroxan and musky touches. Super sexy. Love the way this smells. On skin is amazing. It does come off a little bit minimalistic compared to something like Vibrato. But if you want the original, Tigar is the one to go with. And to me, it's an amazing DNA that Jacques Cavalier has created. And it's so popular. I mean, it's so popular. I think brands want a little bit of their own version of this. Sadly, it's not the longest lasting, but I overspray anyway. So that's Tigar. Tigar from the house of Bvlgari. Let me know if you're a fan. Up next, wow, my bottle fell a little while ago. Anyway, this is from the house of Diptyque. It's Eau de Cologne, launched in 2016. This is a very powdery take on Orange Blossom, by the way. This fragrance only comes in Eau de Toilette. This table, this counter is so full of fragrances, honestly. That's why things are falling off. So, once again, it's not super sweet Orange Blossom, and also a very fresh, powdery Orange Blossom. This also feels like there's a lot of jasmine here. It's jasmine and Orange Blossom mixed together. Jasmine and Orange Blossom baking under the sun in the evening after they've been warmed up by the sunlight. And the smell is just projecting off of the plants, and you've just walked past them. And you've got the tree with the orange blossom and then the jasmine beneath it. And the smells are kind of like mixed together, and it's super intoxicating. There's a little bit of the orange tree, the orange fruit in here as well, I think. But a great scent. But again, not so super sweet like all the other Orange Blossom fragrances. So that is Eau de Cologne from the house of Diptyque. Next up, also in 2016, going to the house of Goldfield & Banks. It's Pacific Rock Moss. Super popular offering. It's a beachy marine aquatic fragrance. To me, it's salty, and that's what creates the beachiness. It's mossy, it's aromatic. Somewhat comes off a little bit coconutty. I think there's a creamy layer in here. For me, this is also great layered with Sunset Hour. Sunset Hour is super tart and juicy, and also big projection. Compared to this is a bit more flatter. It doesn't project as much, but also has that creamy layer. So the two together make for a great layering duo, and it balances each other out. But I think they have now a third flanker of this fragrance. They had Pacific Rock Flower last year. Pacific Rock Moss came out in 2016. So now we've got another one coming out. I can't remember what it was called. But who's a fan of Pacific Rock Moss? Do you guys get fig from this at all? It's almost like coconutty green fig. Do you guys get that? That creaminess is giving me the feeling of beach. But then also I'm getting fig. But more the tree leaves rather than the fruit on that one. Anyway, that's Goldfield & Banks Pacific Rock Moss from 2016. Then we're going back to the house of Jacques Fath. This is Curacao Bay from 2016. One of the best examples of marine fragrance out there on the market, I think. And for me, this was so challenging before. It's easy now. So it's minerally marine with some sweetness under there, but also has a beachy effect, lightly coconutty. So it creates a creamy effect happening in there as well. So for me, I was super sensitive to this. It was so super marine at one time. It's not acting like that anymore, which is a great thing because it would turn me off and I would not enjoy this fragrance. It's grown on me quite a bit. And I think it's a great example of a marine fragrance. Once again, created by Cecile Zarokian. It's not fishy, but salty, creamy, coconutty, minerally at the same time. And a great, inspiration too. Curaçao Bay from the house of Jacques Fath. Created by Cecile Zarokian. All right, we're getting towards the end, but we've got a bit of a long list still. So we're continuing on, moving on to the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. Once again, this is Petite Matin from 2016. When this first came out, it was a duo. It was Petite Matin and also Grand Soir. Instant loves for both. I think this Petite Matin is super juicy. Lemony, musky, clean. But when I'm saying lemon, it's not like it's super tart. There's a nice balance about it. What I like about it is the juiciness. There's a very juicy effect happening. And that gives you like instant satisfaction of fruits. Because juicy fragrances come off very fruity to me, like you're squeezing the fruit and obviously the juice comes out. And the effect of this fragrance is like that. I'm trying to say that there's a wetness. Some fragrances act very dry, like the Eau de Scènes, super dry, super duper dry. On the opposite end, Petite Matin is super juicy, lots of wetness. I love this. It's so good. It's been a while since I've pulled for it. It's also not super sweet. Once again, a little sweeter than the Eau de Scènes, but not so sweet. Like Cologne Indelible, I think, was sweeter. I mean, Francis Kurkdjian can do some great fragrances, but lately he has not. This stuff is one of his best, I think. In fact, I like Petite Matin now a lot more than Aqua Universalis Forte. And for a long time, I was wearing Aqua Universalis Forte. This is so good. All right, so that is Petite Matin from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. And we're going to the house of Atelier Brut Orange next. It's you or someone like you for a truly authentic take on dried mint with green notes, grassy notes, fresh rose. It's almost like a garden come alive. Mint. Mint is also here. Sorry, I forgot to mention the mint. It's pretty minty. But it's so good. So super fresh. No, I did say mint earlier. This is dry mint. To me, it acts grassy. It's the, like, we do a lot of mint in our culture. So there's the fresh variety and there's the dried variety. This to me smells a bit more like the dry with a little bit of freshness in there. But it's so authentic. Doesn't smell like toothpaste. Imagine you're drying a bunch of mint and the fragrance is there. You're smelling it, you know? But this is also green and grassy and also a little bit rosy. And, you know, there's some freshness in here. Like there's definitely something citrusy in here. But it's kind of nondescript. So it could be bergamot freshness so that it doesn't clash with the mint and the rose and the grassy touches that there are. Oh, it's so good, though. Really great. They did a great job on that one. Even though I think it's not anything like what the brand used to create when it first launched in 2006. But overall, super duper fragrance. So that is Atelier Brut Orange, You or Someone Like You. Up next, going to the house of L'Artisan Parfumeur. This is Un Air de Bretagne. Un Air de Bretagne. The Air of Brittany. This is one of the fragrances that got me to enjoy marine fragrances. The marine touches in this is pretty prominent. And the fact that it was meshed with lemony citruses, it was like the lemon's tartness, I guess, toned down that fishiness the marine notes had. But it's super gorgeous, salty, minerally, marine, and a lot of lemons. I do enjoy this one quite a bit. But I think when I first put my nose to it, you know, you're sensitive to things that you don't like. And the cologne stood out. But the fact that it had the lemons got me to appreciate this one. So the Air of Brittany, is that what it was called? On Air de Bretagne, yeah, I think so. I don't associate lemons with the northern part of France, but there's lemons here. It's quite breezy of a fragrance. There's quite a breeziness there. But the fact that the lemons are there with the saltiness and the marine touches, it works perfectly. So that is Un Air de Bretagne from the house of L'Artisan Parfumeur. Check that out if you don't know it. Launched in 2017. Definitely one of the best from that house. One of the best fresh fragrances out there. Let's move on to the house of Nichane. Once again, this is Hachivat. Yes, Hachivat's got to be on this list. Just like Aventus is, Hachivat is as well. And again, this is a very squeegee, cold, metallic take on something like Aventus. Pineapple, grapefruit, patchouli, mossy notes. Very fresh, very strong, intense, ice cold, screechy woods, metallic. It's good. It's really good. Great sillage on this one too. Really, really awesome. Does it remind you of Aventus? Yes. Does it smell like Aventus? Kind of. Are they identical? Definitely not. This is so distant from Cedrat Boisé. A really great scent. Very long lasting. And great sillage too. Hachivat from Nichane. Let me know if you're familiar with that. All right, up next, going to the house of... Let's make sure nothing falls down. Raja Parfums. This is Elysium. This has been a very popular fragrance for the house. To me, this launched in 2017 and giving me blue fragrance vibes, obviously. Somewhere in between Sauvage, maybe a little bit of Bleu de Chanel, and a few other blue-leaning fragrances. It's kind of a fougere style once again, so it's barbershoppy but very modern, like the Sauvage. But this does come off a bit more luxurious, I think. It's super clean and crisp. Spicy and aromatic for sure. I think this series has continued. I think there's a few flankers in this series, right? It's not my favorite fragrance from the house. I think the house makes better fragrances, but appealing to people that enjoy these kind of fragrances, I think it's turned out to be a hit. I much prefer Apex from the brand. Really love that classic touch. It's also stronger than this to me, but this is fine. I'd wear it, but I don't seek it out, you know? So that's Raja Parfums' Elysium. Then we're going to the house of essential parfums. We've got Nice Bergamot, launched in 2018. And then I'm throwing in the extract version launched in 2025. Just so that you guys have an option to get the original, which was the version I would put in this video, but giving you that additional option of the extract. But to me, Nice Bergamot is a, once again, easy to wear bergamot, super nondescript. It's kind of grab and go. It's not as lovely and beautifully gorgeous like Le Labo's version, Bergamot 22. But to me, it's very easy to wear. There's some light grassy aromatic touches in there. The bergamot doesn't scream super floral, but very juicy and refreshing. Now, on the other hand, the extract is much more intense, super pulpy, juicy, fruity. I think the fruitiness has been amplified with the extract in comparison to the original, which is a bit more nondescript. Like, it doesn't have a lot of things standing out. I do enjoy the extract a little bit more right now because it is pulpy. It is a lot fruitier. It's also sweeter. That's the other thing that's different between the two. The extract is much sweeter, which makes sense because I'm saying it's fruitier. So fruits tend to go sweet on me. So there's a little bit of a, I wouldn't say much sweeter, but there's definitely more sweetness compared to the original. But it's a great scent. Right now I'm preferring the extract because of the fruitiness, but the original is quite simplistic and very easy to wear if you're looking for a bergamot fragrance that's super fresh. So that is Essential Parfums, Nice Bergamot and Nice Bergamot Extrait de Parfum. So let me know if you're a fan of that. I'd like to find out. Up next, going to the house of Louis Vuitton. We are talking about Afternoon Swim. Yeah, this is super sexy. Simplistic, easy to wear. Mandarin orange with ambergris with light spices. Juiciest ever. It does remind me a little bit of the Mandarin orange in Mandarin Basilic from Guerlain, as I said earlier. But I like the idea of an afternoon swim. Who doesn't, right? Hopping into the pool, hopping back out, and spritzing yourself with Afternoon Swim by Louis Vuitton. Yeah, Mandarin orange fragrances are not a lot. There's not a lot out there. But the ones that I find usually tend to be really great. And the ones I are really great at are the ones that I buy. Because I really like the way they smell. Not quite orange, not quite lemon, not quite lime, not quite bergamot, or grapefruit, or yuzu, or pomelo. It's its own distinct smell, which I love about it. And I love the flavor, too. Outside of, like, when it comes to eating citruses, if I had to pick between oranges and tangerines or mandarin oranges, it would definitely be mandarin oranges. I like the flavor more. So, makes sense. I like the smell more as well. But the Afternoon Swim is great. It's very simplistic, though. You're going to need a lot of sprays, but it smells really, really awesome. One of the best citruses out there for sure. So that's Afternoon Swim by the house of Louis Vuitton. Let me know if you're familiar with that. I'm sure you are. It's a very popular offering. But we're going back to the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian once again. Gentle Fluidity Silver. Yeah, this was a tough fragrance for me before. I hated it. This fragrance came off so super sharp on me before, like a knife. Right now it's acting very frozen, like an icicle. Super cold. It's a juniper forward fragrance. A lot of juniper, and it makes it kind of gin-like, cool, crisp, metallic, icy. It's also spicy and aromatic. But to me, once it hits the body warmth really makes this fragrance come alive. But this is a juniper bomb. Major, major juniper touches. Super fresh though. Very, very fresh. Spicy fresh. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's super ice cold. And it does remind me of a gin tonic a little bit. Or just a gin alone. So this is Gentle Fluidity Silver. That's the version I'm talking about here. There's also the gold, which is much warmer and vanillic. They're supposed to be opposite fragrances and supposed to be layered. I don't know how many people do the layering thing, but I think the Gentle Fluidity Silver is quite popular, and a lot of guys wear that on its own. Are you a fan of it? Let me know. Add a comment below. Let's go out. Let's go to Goldfield and Banks. This is Bohemian Lime. I'm surprised how great this is. This is probably one of the great fragrances that Goldfield and Banks launched. 2020, this 2021 Silky Woods, and then they started releasing really solid offerings. But to me, this is a wonderful lime fragrance, but finger lime is what I'm trying to say. I couldn't think of the word. It's lime, but it's finger lime. And finger lime is that very caviar looking weird, almost like a sushi roll with little caviar inside it. So I've never tasted it, so I can't really comment on the flavor and its intensity with the tartness. But this is super juicy, citrusy. And the fact that it has coriander in it, I like that. It's got that very unique spice. But to me, it's a fresh spice. It's not a warm spice. I love coriander. But not the herb. It's the flower. Well, the herb part, and then there's the spice part. But I think both are, for sure, fresh, not warm spices. But the combination of the juicy citruses with the spices are really awesome. Gives me a Moscow Mule kind of an effect. Love that. Let me know if you're familiar with Bohemian Lime from Goldfield and Banks. Do you get the Moscow Mule effect from that? Let me know. Add a comment below. Then we're moving on to the house of Parfums de Marly. This is Greenlee. Greenlee is a juicy, crisp apple fragrance. Super Greenlee. Recently, I featured that in the shampoo fragrances video. Gives me shampoo vibes for sure. It's almost like you put on this very fruity, maybe herbal essences shampoo. But there's a lot of musky notes in here. I think there's a lot of cashmeran. And the fact that the apple is super crisp and green and juicy, drippy. Really awesome smell. I love it. It's easy to wear. It's fun and playful. Not serious, but just long-lasting for a freshie. And the fact that it's musky as well makes for a really awesome experience. All right, so that is Greenlee from the House of Parfums de Marly. Let me know if you're a fan of that. I thought that Parfums de Marly would have other freshies, but they didn't really. That's pretty much well, there's a few others. I decided against them. This is a good one for sure from Marly, the Greenlee. We're going to the house of Hermes next. It's H24. Yeah, I did want to feature this one here. It's a good one. It's a pretty solid collection. I'm waiting for the 4th fragrance in the series. Are they going to do a parfum? Will they do a parfum? But the Eau de Toilette, which is the one I'm featuring here, there's 3 versions now, EDP and also the Herbe Vive. It's aromatic, it's minerally, slightly fruity, a little bit ice cold as well. easy to wear, soft spicy, not super harsh spicy. Does it smell like apples? I get a little bit of apples or pears in this. But this is Christine Nagel's men's collection that they started in 21. They did this, then in 22 they did the ADP, or was it in 23? And then in 24 they launched the Herb Vive. And they haven't launched one since then, so when are they bringing it? I'm anticipating it, but I do enjoy this. I don't think it's as popular as Terre de Hermes, but it's so different and unique from everything else other designer houses are making for men, which is kind of a breath of fresh air. So that is H24. Let me know if you're a fan. All right, next, going to the house of Louis Vuitton once again. Imagination. Yeah, Imagination grew on me big time. I was quite underwhelmed with it when it first launched. It's fresh tea. There we go with tea again. But this to me is quite boring on strip. It smells much better on skin. And after it's been on your skin for a while, your body heat, your body temp makes the fragrance project a little bit. I think also he's thrown in elements of Bvlgari Pour Homme, Ote Blanc in there. Wow. Is it also a little bit soapy? It's a little bit soapy, right? That's good. That's really, really great. I think it's super fresh, but Cavalier does a great job on that one. I haven't been buying a lot of Louis Vuitton fragrances lately. I've stopped. I've gotten bored of some of them. But this is quite good. Totally worth having here. Imagination, please get it if you haven't gotten it yet, or at least get a sample to check it out and see what you think, because I do recommend that quite a bit. But you might judge it like I did. When you first smelled it, you probably might feel a little bit underwhelmed from it, but give it some time. Some fragrances take time. Some are instant wows, some are instant hates, and some need some babying, like Imagination did. All right, next, going to the house of Xerjoff. It's Torino 21 from 2021. This is total lemon mint tea. To me, it's also juicy, pulpy citruses against a lot of aromatics. Mint, basil, verbena, I think, is also present here. So it amps up the lemony effect that's happening in the fragrance. The best of the Torinos, I think. No more Torinos this year. 25 was the last Torino. So they did 21, 22, 23, 24. 5 of them. They also went in all these different directions, but for me, I think the original is the best. It reminds me of lemon mint tea that's also kind of soothing and cozy, but it's super fresh and lemony. All right, so that is Torino 21 from the house of Xerjoff. Let me know what your thoughts are. Which is your favorite Torino? 1, 21, 22, 23, 24, or 25? Add a comment below. Finally, we're going to the house of Amouage with a freshie. It's Search. But it's not a Search. I mean, it's not a freshie like every other fresh fragrance. This one has depth in the base. It has some trademark ingredients that a lot of Xerjoff fragrances have. But it's quite lemony up top and smoky kind of resinous in the base. Amber develops in the base, obviously. but it's fresh with depth. It's zesty too. The lemon is quite astringent and kind of zingy, zesty. Do you guys get smoke from this? Does it come off smoky? I think the incense resin in the base is causing that smokiness. At least to me it is. Quite long lasting for a freshie too. It might not appeal to some people that want just freshness. And I think what's going on in the base with the resins and amber and the smokiness might be a bit too complex for some people. So it's not super fresh, but it is fresh because there's a lot of lemon, juicy citruses up top. Yeah, Search from the house of Amouage. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think of that one? We've got 2 more left, guys. We're almost done here. We are almost done, and I think I'm missing my last fragrance. Where did it go? All right, we'll go to this next one, and I'll have to pause. This next one's from the house of Louis Vuitton. Once again, it's Pacific Chill. This is a super fruity smoothie effect. Juicy, fruity smoothie. Imagine going to the Jamba Juice and requesting, or some kind of a fruity kind of a juice bar or something. And you're throwing in tropical fruits. It's very passion fruit forward. Maybe a little bit of black currant. There's a creaminess in there because smoothies are a bit creamy, but a lot of fruit juices are in there. It's very health drinky kind of. That's fun. It's been a while since I've pulled Pacific Chill, but I quite enjoy this. There's Afternoon Swim, which seems super simplistic. This one seems more complex. There's a bit more things happening with this one. But the fact that it's fruity adds that layer of fun and playfulness, which makes it fun, makes it easy to wear. It's called Pacific Chill. There is a little bit of a chilled effect in there. There's also some aromatics. I am picking up something mint-like. But good, but really good. This is definitely stronger than both Imagination and Afternoon Swim. But that is Pacific Chill. Let me know your thoughts. Add a comment below. Last but not least, we're going back to the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian, and we're still in the year 2023. This is Aqua Media Cologne Forte. So this came out around the same time as the Pacific Chill. I remember doing videos on both of these around the same time. Which do you like better? For me, this Aqua Media Cologne Forte, I think does have light reminders of the fragrance he created for Elizabeth Arden, the green tea. This is lemongrassy or lemon verbena. It's a bit tea-like, but it's super fresh and green. So the fact that it has those tea vibes gives you that super cozy feeling. There's a lot of citruses in this as well. So Aqua Media Cologne Forte came out, was released as a separate fragrance after MFK created Cologne Forte versions of their 3 popular citruses, I think, right? Then this came out, and I definitely enjoy this one as a standalone fragrance, but I don't care for the other Cologne Fortes. I think they're duds, because maybe I'm so used to the originals, the Cologne Forte versions were not really appealing to me, whereas the Aqua Media Cologne Forte was released on its own separately. It was not an existing fragrance before. except that it reminds you a little bit of Elizabeth Arden green tea. I enjoy this one quite a bit. But let me know your thoughts. Are you a fan of Acqua Media Cologne Forte? Do you get somewhat of a connection to Elizabeth Arden green tea? Or am I just thinking that? I get it. I do get that. It's not identical. Elizabeth Arden's green tea is super light, very light. This stuff lasts much longer than Elizabeth Arden's green tea. And the Elizabeth Arden's green tea, I think, just like 4711, is just like an after shower kind of quick spritz and clean, green tea fragrance that's super cozy. But for me, that doesn't last. This one does. It smells great. It's fresh, aromatic, herbal, citrusy, green stuff that I think is perfect to wear in the summertime or any time of the year when you want that uplifting freshness. But that's the last fragrance for you guys. Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Acqua Media Cologne Forte. And we are done. We did 100 fragrances approximately. We have a few more fragrances than 100 in this list, but I'm going to make sure to remember the tag exactly 100, because anything over, the chapters won't work. The timestamps will in the info box, but the chapters won't. But thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. What do you think of these fresh fragrances? Is there anything missing? As I said, I made sure to know these are 100% still selling and available, so I only went with fragrances that you can still buy. If I did put fragrances in here that you couldn't buy, I know I would get complaints, unless we were doing a complete overview. But these are still selling. If you're in the market for them, get them, buy them. And if there's anything that I missed, do add a comment below. Let me know what those are so I can look into having them for a future video or maybe a part 2. But from the list, which do you have? And I know I'm not ranking this list, but let me know your top 5 from this list. You watched the video, you heard me say which are my favorites, but add a comment below. And thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Let me know what your questions are. And please interact with this video. Like the video, share it, add a comment, and also, interact with some of their commenters and reply to their comments as well. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click the bell icon so you'll be notified for future videos. See you guys later. Bye-bye.